I got into a Genesis. This is luxury. Whether it's a sleek G70 or the GV80 with that third row, these are high-end vehicles with payments that actually make sense. Go see Michael. Tell him Sid sent you. Genesis of Brooklyn. Find him at genesisofbrooklyn.com.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Sid and Friends in the morning. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm sorry, Sid. Hi.
Oh, God, don't be sorry. You kidding me?
No, I'm wrapped up in these meetings on peace. And I said, it's between peace and Sid Rosenberg. And I said, let's take Rosenberg, okay? So
my advice is to be strong. I don't like it when I see Jewish people, moms and dads, they tell their kids, you can take your yarmulke off. Take it off. If you're nervous to walk in the streets, take your yarmulke off. I can't stand that. Or hide your Mogen David. You do that, they win. They'd almost rather see that than a dead body in the street of Tel Aviv. Trust me, okay? Don't do that. Don't tell your kids, I know you're a parent, you're nervous, I'm nervous too, okay? I've got a son who goes to school in Chelsea. It's not easy. And my daughter just came back from London. You want to talk about a rough place for 3 years. But when you do that, you're really doing a disservice to the Jewish people fighting for us in Israel and all of you fine people in the audience here today. Do not do that. Wear your yarmulke proudly, wear your chai proudly, and show everybody that you're Jewish. And I got to say, to quote from the great movie Goodfellas, if you get your ass kicked once in a while, so what? Everybody needs a good ass kicking once in a while, right? But it's okay. You'll go to bed that night a proud Jew. Don't hide the fact that you're Jewish. Flaunt it.
Two of California's biggest prizes are up for grabs in primary election, the race for governor and the L.A. mayoral race.
And ballot returns are outpacing our last primary election 4 years ago as a surge of late ballots flow in. And CBS L.A. political reporter Tom Wade is here. You've got some latest numbers, Tom.
We do. And in fact, those numbers that you're talking about, Pat, that just changed a few hours ago. It's been back and forth. So, yeah, it's ticking up. Not a lot, but a little bit. So that's good, though. But turnout's still only at about 18% statewide. But again, like Pat and Rudube were saying, that's an increase from where we were on our election eve in our primary in 2022. In L.A., though, that number is lower, 15%. But it's a huge increase from where it was just a few days ago. The candidates doing all they can to get out the vote. From Sacramento to L.A. City Hall, California voters are deciding the state's biggest races, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
This election has been unlike others that we have seen because there's been so much change and movement. It's been topsy-turvy from the governor's race to the mayor's race. What we're seeing is that ballots are coming in now. I think that it seems like a lot of people were holding on to their ballots, perhaps because they really didn't know where they wanted to cast their ballot. But as we get closer to Election Day, we see that people are getting excited and turning them in.
In the governor's race, recent polls show Democrat Javier Becerra in the lead, with Republican Steve Hilton close behind. Democrat Tom Steyer is also in the mix. Some polls show him in second. The top two vote getters go on to the November general election.
A lot of unexpected events in this election. In the gubernatorial race, you had the withdrawal of Eric Swalwell. Nobody knew how that would work out, and apparently a lot of support went to Javier Becerra. But Becerra is not so far ahead that there isn't a possibility of an upset.
Thank you for voting.
In LA's mayoral race, incumbent Mayor Karen Bass was out on the campaign trail Monday, delivering her closing message as she fights to keep her job.
42,000 units of housing, crime rates down to 60 years low. We have the Olympics and the World Cup coming.
An LA Times UC Berkeley poll out last week showed Bass neck and neck with her two challengers, former reality TV star Spencer Pratt and City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. Bass's one-time friend and ally.
They are tired of how high the housing costs are here, how it's driving families out of the city, how our response to our homelessness crisis has been lackluster.
Pratt was not out campaigning publicly on the eve of the election. His team released a statement saying he is engaging with voters today, but we are not making it a media spectacle. He's having intimate and meaningful conversations across the city.
Spencer Pratt has really caught on like a rocket fire. And he's now in a race with Nithya Raman for who's going to come in second, but they're so close that they're within the margin of error.
According to the political data firm PDI, registered Republicans were outperforming registered Democrats in ballot returns for much of the current primary voting cycle. But in the last few days, there's been a surge of registered Democrats returning their ballots.
This is a fascinating race in large part because as the Angelenos go to cast their ballot, very few people feel terribly excited about any one of these candidates. We see that even in the kinds of endorsements that have happened.
One group not turning out so far to vote, young people. According to PDI's election data, only 5% of voters 18 to 34 have returned their ballots.
You're on One Nation tonight. Look at our guest lineup. Sid Rosenberg has had it with the socialist mayor and the anti-Semitism. The latest blow, he refuses to show up to Israeli Day Parade. First mayor in New York history not to do that. So New York has never been more hostile to the Jewish community than it is today. There's no question Mayor Zohran Mamdani has made everything worse. From his threats to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu whenever he comes to New York, to his inept response to constant anti-Semitic activity, which is all over New York, ultimately resulting in being the first mayor not to march in today's Israeli Day Parade. And now a famous Brooklyn food co-op has voted to boycott Israeli products. Not a word from him. This is not a surprise to our next guest, Sid Rosenberg, the host of Sid and Friends in the Morning on New York 77 WABC, #1 city, #1 station. He's also a member of the Holocaust Memorial Museum Council. The president pointed you to that.
Yes.
You knew this was going to be bad. Is this worse than you thought in terms of for Jews in New York?
It's much worse. And I did know it was going to be bad, and so did you. But this is, Brian, this is much worse. This guy, and look, it's not just him, it's his whole family. His father is an anti-Semite, responsible for a lot of those campus problems at Columbia. His wife is a wretched, vile anti-Semite, liking graphic images of girls being raped and babies being murdered back on October the 7th. So the whole family, a bunch of Jew-hating anti-Semites. And whether it's no buffer zones in front of synagogues or schools in New York City, not showing up to the parade, first one to do that since 1964, his constant rhetoric about globalizing the Intifada, Israel's not really a Jewish state. Time and time again, this guy's had opportunity to prove us wrong. He fails every time. He's a bad guy. He's an anti-Semite.
I want to play this, you guys, because my colleague at WABC, Sid Rosenberg, is always feisty. He did an event where he, said Mamdani basically hates Jews. Now, Sid is Jewish and a proud Jew. And I think not only if you're Jewish, everybody should be support the Jewish population. We should all be supportive of each other. And this is cut 13. This is Sid Rosenberg. I want to play this because he was interviewed by Melissa Russo, who is on the local NBC station, WNBC television, because he came out a few days before and said, Mamdani hates us. He wants to get rid of us, da-da-da-da-da. And Sid's very passionate about him. I say bravo to Sid. And what happened? Well, Melissa Russo confronted Sid at the Israel Day Parade. And let's just say Sid did great. Take a listen.
He wants you dead. He wants you dead.
You actually believe that Mayor Mamdani wants Jews to be dead?
I'm not sure he doesn't. That's my answer.
What basis do you have for that?
I don't think he cares either way.
I mean, to say that he wants people dead is a scary thing for people to believe, and you have a lot of people who follow you.
Prove me wrong. When you've got a mayor who's not here today, the only mayor in the history of our city, Melissa, you're a smart girl, okay, who uses some nonsense excuse about Israel and Bibi. Is this parade in Tel Aviv? Is Bibi Netanyahu here? It has nothing to do with Israel and Bibi. He hates the Jewish people. He hates us.
But does his absence actually mean that he wants them dead? I mean, is that not inflammatory?
Not inflammatory to me. It's more, but why don't you ask him about his wife?
We have asked him. Sure we have.
The press in this city is much more obsessed with what Sid Rosenberg says on a radio show than what the mayor, his wife, and his father. You guys should be pressing that guy every single day and not worry what I have to say at a private Jewish event on a Wednesday night in Battery Park.
As the mayor of our city, I take seriously my responsibility to protect the safety and well-being of every New Yorker and every event, regardless of my attendance.
With due respect, Sid, you have a big following and people listen to you. And if you're telling people that Mayor Mamdani wants Jews dead, does that not make Jews feel more fearful than they already do? Isn't he providing the resources and having his police commissioner protect this parade?
Well, hold on a second. He's providing resources. He had 2 opportunities to put buffer zones in front of synagogues and shuls. He did neither one. He celebrated Nakba Day. Listen, if I say something that's a little inflammatory, he says stuff every day that's inflammatory. Tough. Every opportunity, he fails. You're doing a good job. Thank you very much.
I love it. You're doing a good job. That's how, like, Trump says, blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much for your attention to detail. Donald J. Trump. That was a great ending, Sid. Bravo, Sid. I'm telling you. You know, why say, oh, yeah, why is the rest of the media not going, hey, wait a minute. Isn't it really despicable that he's not here at the parade? Isn't it really despicable that he continues to bash Israel? He says he's not anti-Semitic, but he bashes Israel at every turn. Where's the rest of the local media in New York? It's like they're like cowering in a corner. They've lost like their sense of mission. What about covering everybody fairly? And what about had they done it during the campaign?
You know, here in New Jersey, for example, it's a very, very big day. We'll get to that. 6 states that have key primaries across the country today, from Iowa to Montana to South Dakota to New Mexico to New Jersey. And, of course, the big one that everybody is watching, those 2 major races for mayor and governor in the state of California. So some hysteria there. Mamdani providing hysteria in this city every day. You know, I started that open today, though, with a piece that I did yesterday at the Jerusalem Post conference. I never got invited to that before. And they hold these Jerusalem Post conferences all over the country. So they invited me to go to the one down in Miami in December. And you guys may remember I took a little time off in December, and the family, we went down to Fort Lauderdale, stayed for about a week, and then we came back. But about 4 days after we came back was the Jerusalem Post Miami conference. And they said, Sid, just stay. And I said, I don't know. That's going to be 2 weeks of missing shows, and, you know, those guys do a great job when I'm not here, but I need to be here. Let's just leave it at that, okay? I need to be here. So I said, I can't miss another week. And they also weren't going to pay for everything I want them to pay for, to be honest. So they said, listen, here's the deal. We hold a major conference in New York, a big one. We make you the keynote speaker, and this way you can go home and don't worry about it. And you'll speak in New York. I said, that would be fantastic. So sure enough, yesterday was, in fact, the Jerusalem Post conference in New York, and I went there right after the show. Our dear friend Liz Pipko, I met her baby. What a cute kid. My God, what a cute kid. Liz Pipko's little girl. I think she's 3 or 4 months old now, and her husband, Darren, they showed up at the conference after we spoke, and she was on the same panel with me. She'll be in the studios on this show tomorrow. So I went and I spoke, and it was really great. I was there for a few hours. I actually was on stage twice because you guys may remember late in the show yesterday, my buddy who's the governor of Binyamin in Judea and Samaria, he came with his friend Eliana, and Emily Austin was in studio, and a kid named Ahavat Hashem Gordon, who happens to be a big-time UFC fighter in Israel, 19 years old. He's a champ. He's 12-0. And they gave him an award yesterday at the Jerusalem Post conference, and they grabbed me and they said, Sid, we want you to give it to him. So I went back up on stage about an hour and a half after I spoke with Pipko, gave Gordon the award before I left. But as I was leaving, Bruce Blakeman, our enthusiastic choice for governor, Bruce Blakeman, he showed up. Michael Rappaport showed up. It was the who's who of the Jewish world, the superstars here in New York, at that conference yesterday, and I thought they did a really good job. So that first clip you heard in the open, where I talked about Jewish kids in New York, their parents actually encourage them to take off their yarmulkes and hide their Mogen Davids, and I go, don't do that. Would you believe this, Noam, that clip, you can go check this for yourself, And this is why I tried to explain to folks all over New York, even at the station, that no, people are not getting Jew tired. Okay, they're not. They're not. Because you can do all these stories on Facebook about New York and Iran and all those stories, and no one's going to care. You'll be lucky to get 100 or 1,000 likes. Do you know how many likes and views that clip from the J-Post conference has already received on Twitter this morning, Noam?
How many views?
Yeah.
70,000.
70,000. Louis, you want to take a guess?
Okay, I guess it's going to be higher, 100,000.
100,000. You ready, guys? 17 million.
Wow.
17 million. You can tweet till your face turns blue at this radio station all across the city. That's why this show, trust me, I know what I'm doing, okay? That's why this show gets bigger ratings than any other show at this station, and this station does well compared to the competition. Because 17 million people have already watched what I did at the J-Post yesterday. 17 million. And that number will continue to go up. So that's why I put that piece at the very top of the open, just to tell you how many people. And I am in that Jerusalem Post in terms of articles, me and Trump, I would say about twice a month. So as I get set to go back to Israel on June the 18th, can't wait. Obviously, a lot of folks there are very excited. They pay very close attention to what I say here in New York. I mean, Noam, when I tell you they pay very close attention, you wouldn't believe it. In the last week alone, this show has been in the papers in the Jerusalem Post, the Times of Israel, NJNS.org. And again, 17 million views on that piece on Twitter from yesterday. My daughter Ava, she just arrived in Tel Aviv this morning. Do you know the story? So my daughter Ava, she's going to Israel for a couple of weeks. She's coming home and we're about to go. And she has a place to stay the second week of her vacation. So she said, Daddy, I need a place to stay the first week. And I know you have friends all over Israel. Help me with a hotel, blah, blah, blah. So, Noam, you know my friend Johnny Daniels, right?
Yeah, sure.
Johnny is a hugely, immensely popular figure in both Israel and the UK. This guy gets information about Bibi and Trump and Israel and the United States before anybody else. He's been on this show a million times. I keep asking him, how do you get that info? He won't tell me, of course. So he lives in Tel Aviv, but he's in New York until the middle of the month. So he actually gave my daughter the keys to his apartment. And Ava, the first week, starting today, is staying at Johnny Daniels' pad in Tel Aviv. How cool is that?
That's pretty sweet.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Got a great place and he's been living there for many, many years. And he's in a great neighborhood. And he's 6 blocks from the beach. And that's where Ava Rosenberg is staying starting today. And there is some news between President Trump and Bibi. Supposedly, President Trump cursed out Bibi again. He does it every couple of weeks. You know, you're starting to think that for all the idiots out there, there's a lot of them, who say that this is not America's war. This is Bibi's war. And basically, Trump is Bibi's bitch. You're starting to think that maybe Trump every now and then just unleashes on Bibi just so the world knows who Daddy is. Because Daddy's Trump. It's not Bibi. It's not Bibi's war. It's not Israel's war. It's all about President Trump. He takes orders from nobody. Nobody. And every now and then, he will rip Bibi a new one. And there is some report that he yelled at Bibi, used the F word, told him this is why everybody hates Israel and all that stuff, you know. So I reached out to Alex Traiman in Jerusalem, and I said, what do you think about this? He's in Jerusalem, okay? He knows the dynamic better than most people here. And he said, means nothing. It's going to end up favoring both Trump and Bibi. So in Israel, at least, they think it's more about show than any real animosity or even anger at the moment between Trump and Bibi. What do you think, Noah?
Well, I don't know if I buy that, because it seems like the Israelis really thought that they were rooting out Hezbollah in Lebanon. They were moving closer to Beirut, moving further in to Lebanon, and now all of a sudden that has stopped. And, of course, the fear on the part of the Israelis that live in the northern part of the country is that the firing will begin, that they haven't finished off the job. So I don't know if I totally buy that. I think they thought they really had Hezbollah on the run, and they want to keep it that way. But clearly the president has gotten to the prime minister because they're going to stop it, at least for now, and the two sides are going to talk in Washington today.
Yeah, they are going to talk Israel and Lebanon. So we're still kind of stuck in the Iran situation, right? Nothing changed overnight?
Well, Iran is trying to tie it all to what's going on over in Israel and Lebanon. And they say, hey, that's part of the ceasefire deal. If Israel's firing at Beirut or Lebanon or whatever in southern Lebanon, then deal's off. And so yesterday they asked the president, they said, it looks like Iran has walked away from the table. And he said, that's fine with him. He said, he'll figure something else out. So we don't know where this stands right now.
All right, tell me about these primaries. Again, 6 states, a huge day. Those states include South Dakota, New Mexico, Montana, and Iowa. But the two big ones are right here in New Jersey. And, of course, the biggest one is in California. So our friend Alex Zdan, who's been on this show many times, pretty popular news guy in New Jersey, decided to run for state senate to eventually take on that louse Cory Booker in November. But it is a 4-person primary, all men in that race in New Jersey today. So Zdan's been on 2 or 3 times. I've been to New Jersey a few times to help him out. We did a really cool fundraiser for Alex about a month and a half ago at Trump International in Colts Neck, New Jersey. So today, I guess, is Judgment Day. You know, and those are 4 candidates, again, looking to represent the Republican Party against Cory Booker in November. But the bigger race in New Jersey that's getting a lot of pub this morning, especially on Fox News, centers around this guy, Hamway. And there are reports that this guy, who's running for a seat in New Jersey today, actually has or had ties to the Sheik. This is crazy.
Yeah, to the blind Sheik, though I will point out that they say that's total nonsense. And
who's they say?
His campaign.
Who
they say
cares
there's
what
no
his campaign
connection.
says? He's a liar. I'm telling you, the guy's lying. I mean, it's being stated all over. You're going to tell me that it's such a stretch to believe that a candidate running today with all these psychotic DSA candidates, including Nithya in Los Angeles, running against Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass, that it's such a stretch to believe that a guy running in New Jersey has ties to terrorism? That's a stretch?
And I don't think so. I'm just telling you what he said. He said that, they're calling this bigoted and that kind of thing. And so they're throwing it out and they're saying, no, this isn't the case. It looks like he has a real shot of winning. He's going for the seat in central New Jersey where there's a Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, who's retiring. So you have all these. A Democrat's going to win this seat. That's really, there's not really much
That's
chance.
The bottom line.
Yeah. So whoever wins this primary is likely going to win the seat. And so he has a real shot. He's a plastic surgeon. He worked as a trauma surgeon in Gaza, and he seems to have a lot of support from these pro-Palestinian super PACs. They've poured a ton of money into this race. So I haven't seen any polling. I don't even know if there's been any polling done. Sometimes these smaller races there's not, but they say he has a real shot today.
I got to tell you, I don't do this often, but I'm doing it now. If you're in New Jersey, we got a huge audience. We've got a bigger audience than 101.5 New Jersey. That's their big station. Craig Horton was on there for many years with Ray Rossi doing afternoons. They did very, very well. And who's the guy that Chitterelli kicked his ass in the primary last year that does their morning show?
My God.
He went back to doing mornings after he got obliterated in the primary. I forget his name, but he's on. But we kill him. So if you're in New Jersey this morning listening and you intend to vote, whether it's the Alex Zdan race, the Hamway race. Yesterday we had, for example, Tiffany Burris on this show. And if that last name sounds familiar, it should, because her husband, Plaxico Burris, was a monster superstar for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but more importantly, won a Super Bowl with our New York Football Giants. In fact, he caught the game-winning touchdown pass from Eli Manning to beat the Patriots. 4 great years with the Giants, 1 year with the Jets, and they stayed in New Jersey now 16 years, and Tiffany Burris is running in District 9, which I believe includes parts of Passaic County, Bergen County, the lower portion of that, places like Patterson and these types of spots. So she's running today. So if you're in New Jersey and you are voting this morning, call in. I want to know what race you're voting on and who you're thinking about voting for. The problem is I do this, but I don't do it at all. We barely take phone calls on this show. I don't even know the number.
Oh, my God.
I don't even know it.
Good. Bill Spadia.
Yes, that's right. Bill Spadia. Very good. Yes. What is the number for folks to call into this radio station? Somebody text Dominic. It's 1-800. This is terrible. We don't know the number. Justin, you know the number for potential callers? Not many. I know Pete Morgan right now just died. He's undergone all these horrific surgeries. He survived all those. But anytime I mention callers, Pete Morgan comes very, very close to death.
What a nice gift as he gets out of the hospital. Perfect.
What is the number, Justin?
Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go back on this if you'd like.
No, just give out the number, damn it.
All right, fine. 848-9222.
800-848-9222.
You nailed it.
Only if you're in New Jersey. So don't call and say you're in Jersey and you're some asshole from Brooklyn trying to be a tough guy.
I'm sure everybody will listen to those rules.
I know.
Exactly.
800-848-9222. If you're intending on voting in one of these primaries in New Jersey today, what race you're actually voting for and who is the candidate you want to see win in that specific town. But, of course, the big one is California, and that's going to feature 3 running for mayor. Netanyahu Rahman, she is the DSA candidate she's a city council member. The incumbent mayor, Karen Bass, and the celebrity superstar that we've all fallen in love with, Spencer Pratt. And last poll I saw, Noam, and these polls keep changing, have Pratt in 3rd. That's not going to work because in these jungle primaries in California for both mayor and governor, only the top 2 have a chance to move on. Only the top 2. So this morning, it's a very, very tight race, like 1 percentage point apart. But Spencer Pratt could easily end up behind the 2 ladies and not even make it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if these polls are doing an effective job of measuring his surge because it's a late surge. And that latest poll was a couple days ago already, and they're only separated by points, by like 2-3 points each. So I don't know that the polls mean a whole lot, going into this race. And then there's another one in the governor's race, same sort of thing. It's very close. So I could see Pratt still pulling this out. I mean, all he needs to do is get 2nd place, and he's in for November.
Right. Well, here was Spencer Pratt yesterday on Fox News, and he's saying, look, he's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He's not an independent. He's just a common sense guy who believes he's got the answers to save Los Angeles. But he said his supporters are mostly angry Democrats. Lewis, Spencer Pratt, cut number 11.
Rick Caruso seems like a Republican but ran as a Democrat. How are you running?
Yeah, thankfully it's a nonpartisan race, so I don't have to be either. I have
What are you?
I'm a registered Republican, but my supporters are all Democrats because Los Angeles is all Democrats. All the people financing me are Democrats. All the meetings I take every day are Democrats. Democrats are very angry with what happened to Los Angeles. They were fed a bunch of lies by Mayor Bass, who said she was going to literally solve homelessness. She was going to do all these things she didn't do. So all of the people that put her actually in office are now behind me. So it's a nonpartisan race. There's no letter next to either of our names because the mayor is not supposed to represent a party. They're supposed to make sure your moms are safe, your houses don't burn down, and your tax money is going to your infrastructure, not to fund drug addicts. So thankfully, I have Republicans that love me. I have Democrats that love me. I have independents that love me. Even some socialists message me and they're like, hey, don't be so mean to us. We like you too. I'm like, sorry, I don't mess with socialists.
Right, yeah.
He actually also has the vote of the celebrities, which he has said publicly, I don't want it, but he's got it. People, for example, like Leonardo DiCaprio, they are rushing to vote for him, and Jamie Foxx. I saw some other names. So that is Spencer Pratt. And again, 3-way race. It looks like in the governor's race, the gentleman that President Trump endorsed, Steve Hilton, has a better chance of getting to the final 2 maybe than Spencer Pratt does in the mayor's race, although most people I speak to say that both will prevail, both Steve Hilton in the governor's race and Spencer Pratt in the mayor's race. Both will end up prevailing in that jungle primary, and both will have a shot in November. Any predictions, no, this
I
morning?
don't know. There's an Emerson College poll. That was the last one to come out ahead of this governor's race. And it had Tom Steyer jumping over Steve Hilton in
Yeah,
second
but I've
place.
seen Steyer in fourth in a bunch of polls now.
Yeah, so, but they had it, Becerra 1.
Yeah.
Steyer 2, and then in third place, Hilton.
I think it's Becerra 1, Hilton 2, but we'll see. Let's grab some of these. I can tell if they're lying or not because, when you call in, we get to see the phone number. So if I see 201, I know you're New Jersey. If I see 908, I know you're New Jersey. If I see 973, I know you're New Jersey. You're calling from 718, you're not getting on, bottom line. So let's go to line 4. This is a 201 number. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
And who's this?
I'm Matt from Lake Hopatcong. Matt from Lake Hopatcong.
Matt from Lake Hopatcong. Where is that exactly?
That's in Morris County, and we're on the largest lake in New Jersey.
Very nice. Okay, very nice. So is there a specific election that you're voting for this morning?
Well, I'm very active. I'm a political county committee in my town. We're one of 28 people. And I live in the town of Jefferson Township, even though it's like a mailing address of Lake Hopatcong. And I have been campaigning to run the candidate against the mayor of our town. So I'm campaigning for Christian Barranco to be our mayor in our town. But also, I just want to point out, I'm campaigning against your candidate of our New Jersey Senate candidate. I'm campaigning for Richard Tabor, not the pretty boy that you're supporting on the air.
Why were you holding it against him because he's handsome? I don't understand.
No, I'm kind of listening to all the candidates.
Yeah.
And when I did, I think Richard Tabor, the cop from Newark, a black detective from Newark, is the better choice to run up against Cory Booker.
Okay.
When I heard your support for the other fellow, I kind of was like, ooh, I liked it so much, but I'm glad I have the opportunity to get it out, a shout out for Richard Tabor.
Okay, Richard Tabor is your guy. Thank you very much for the call. He's not going to win. Alex Zdan is my guy. He is all about freedom, whether it's religious freedom. He's also about health freedom. We love that. He's all for the moms. He's a big President Trump guy. He's pro-Israel. Alex Zdan is my guy. Line 3 is 908. We'll go to that person now. Good morning. Who's this?
Good morning, Sid. It's Tom.
Where do you live, Tom?
I live in Long Hill Township. That's in Morris County, New Jersey.
Okay. And is there
I'm a
an election?
registered Democrat.
Okay.
66 years young, but I'm not the same. It's not the party that I signed up for.
I was going to say, because people always say to me, Sid, do you think any Democrats listen to your show? And I'm always told, this is true now, by politicians all over the city, including Frank Morano, who's a member of our city council here in New York, that plenty of Democrats listen to you. So you're a lifelong Democrat. You're listening. So maybe they're right.
Well, I'm trying to find a candidate that's best for the Republican Party on a Democratic side, actually. And I got some negative campaign ad from this a woman called Bennett. And she's got a MAGA hat on, and it's a Democratic negative ad. If you don't want to stand up, for her values, don't vote for her. So, I'm going to vote for her. I was just going to chat GPT, who's the best on the Democratic side for the Republicans. Spartacus has got it locked up. You can't touch any of that. So I was just going to go in there and pull one lever.
All right, fair enough. No, he does probably have it locked up. I agree with you. He'll be very, very tough to beat. He's like AOC. He's a moron. He really is. He's a moron. He's done nothing for the state of New Jersey. I mean, nothing for the state of New Jersey. He talks a lot. He loves to talk. Remember, he spoke for like 27 consecutive hours one day, but he says nothing. One more. We'll go to line 2. That's a Jersey area code 973. Hello. Good morning. How are you? Hello. You're on the air.
Well, they don't know.
Sid?
Yes, sir. How are you? You're on the air, sir. He's having a very difficult time with this. All right, thank you very much. And this is why I don't take calls, okay? It's not like I haven't heard other shows that take calls and the same thing doesn't happen. Same exact thing happens.
Nice jersey. Way to be.
All right, thank you very much.
Good
that was
representation
great.
of what's going on out there. That's good.
What else is happening in the world today, Noam, that we need to know?
I think we covered most everything. The only thing I can think is the big local story that everybody's talking about is the sewer people. Have you heard the story of the sewer people that are seen going in and out of sewers in Brooklyn?
No, I haven't seen that.
So there's these crews that have been spotted over the last couple of weeks with lights on their foreheads, like they're going into a coal mine, and then shovels in their hand. And so people were freaked out. They sent that video to the NYPD over the weekend. The NYPD was checking out these sewer holes they were seen coming out of, and they didn't see anything sinister going on, but they haven't caught up with any of these crew members. But what they've decided, and they think is probably the case because they've seen this before, is these crews are going into the sewer looking for valuables. So
valuables?
Yes, I guess there's who knew that you could get valuables down below in the sewer, but apparently that's the case. It's been going on for decades. This is not the first crew of people seen to go down below in the sewer, but that's the answer they're giving anyway, is that nothing terrible. This is not terror related. It's just people looking to make money.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if in your great show, every day before this show, Noam Laden does a terrific show, 5 to 6. It's the best 1-hour news show, not just in New York, but I believe across the country. We are now 1 day away from the NBA Finals. Knickerbockers in San Antonio, Game 1 coming up tomorrow night. Did that make the top 5 on your show today? Well, tomorrow, I'm sure.
With the NBA Finals, they did not make the top 5 today, but of course they will tomorrow because Wednesday night's Game 1.
Game 1 tomorrow night. I'm still waiting to hear back from my dear friend Keith Kanchowitz, who called me twice on Sunday and said, hey, I've got a private plane, and Ben Stiller's going to be on the plane, and Spike Lee's going to be on the plane, and you're going to be on the plane, Sid, because we're going to San Antonio Wednesday night for Game 1. You know, I got a call yesterday. You know Joe Pags? You know that name, right, guys? So he's a really, really big-time radio guy. In fact, on the Talkers Magazine list last year of the heavy 100 hosts in the country, on which I finished up at number 13, which is nothing short of a miracle because we're not syndicated. All these other shows that beat me, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Brian Kilmeade, they're on hundreds of stations. Brian Kilmeade, 210. Sean Hannity, 715. I'm on 1. Now, yes, people listen to me all over the world because of the app. You can download the free app, 77 WABC. And right now, I've got people listening in probably 9 or 10 different countries, including Israel and all over the United States as well. But the truth is, we're not syndicated. But Pags, he finished at number 7. He's a big-time guy. He's Sean Hannity's really good buddy. And his show is stationed in San Antonio. So he wants me to come on tomorrow to talk about Mamdani and the issues in New York. And I said, hey, Joe, I know you're in San Antonio. How about Knicks Spurs? And he said, oh, yeah, we got to get into that. You know, Spurs are going to win, and we'll get back and forth on that one. But a lot of Knicks fans are very, very, very confident. And that scares me, okay? A lot of Knicks fans who have watched the Knicks lose in their last 2 finals appearances, 1994 to the Houston Rockets, 1999 to those same San Antonio Spurs. And now they feel like nobody can beat the Knicks. Not Magic Johnson's Lakers, not Larry Bird's Celtics, not Michael Jordan's Bulls, not Bill Russell's Celtics. Nobody can beat the Knicks. Even Michael Rappaport, the brilliant comedian and actor, dear friend of mine who, like me, spoke at yesterday's Jerusalem Post conference. Even Mike, he's like Beningo. He never thinks the Knicks are going to win. Now he's like, oh, Knicks are going to win. In fact, here it is, Michael Rappaport's Instagram from yesterday, Lewis. This is cut number 12, another very confident Knicks fan.
I'm going to say something I have never said out loud, that I have never actually thought in my life. Google me. Fact check me. Look it up. The New York Knicks are going to win the NBA championship. Oh, what a relief it is to say that and believe it and to feel it from the tippy tip of my toes to the top of my dome piece. The New York Knicks are going to win the NBA championship. I knew in 94 we weren't going to win, and then OJ, Game 7, I knew we weren't going to beat the Spurs in 99. And that Frenchman, that French freak, he's full blown. He's a problem. The Spurs are an issue. It ain't going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. But we got this. Big body Brunson. We got this. The New York Knicks are going to win the NBA championship, and I know I'm possibly setting myself up for heartbreak and scars and lesions that I'll probably never, ever, 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 ever be able to recover from if somehow, some way the Knicks don't win the NBA championship in a few weeks. But I don't feel that. I don't believe that. The Knicks are going to win the NBA championship. And New York City is going to go ape giggity, go New York, go New York, go.
Giggity, go New York, go New York, go. So that makes me nervous when people like Michael Rappaport are that confident because, again, we've seen the Knicks get to the finals twice since 1973. They haven't won a championship in 53 years. San Antonio, they've won. No, it's not the same team. It's not the same guys, right? This is Wembanyama. It's not Tim Duncan. It's not David Robinson. It's not Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker or Robert Horry, Big Shot Bob. I know that. But that organization, San Antonio, they're used to winning all those years with Greg Popovich. We're not. Again, that means nothing tomorrow night when Jalen Brunson and Towns and Bridges and our guys hit the court. But I just be careful. 53 years is a long time. Now, we have been the most dominant team in the playoffs. It's not even close. 11 consecutive wins, most of those wins in blowout fashions. A lot of those games were over in the second quarter. Second quarter against Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. This San Antonio team is light years better. Listen to me carefully. I watch the NBA all year long. They are light years better than any of the three teams we just beat. So it's one thing if we came back from 22 to beat Cleveland in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So we have been in a position where we were down a lot of points and still came back and won. But these games are not going to be blowouts. I'm telling you, the Knicks are not going to beat the Spurs by 35. So I'm looking forward to see how the Knicks operate in games because I think all the games are going to be close. I think we can win. I'm not picking against the Knicks, but when everybody starts to say everybody, even Knicks fans that think we're never going to win, we got this, we got this, we got this, makes me a little nervous. Tomorrow night, we'll find out. Here we go. Let's go.
They're going to beat this team.
You said the Knicks are going to win, right?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have nearly the same amount of confidence as you do.
I don't. What I've seen...
It doesn't matter what you saw. Those three teams are nowhere near as good as San Antonio.
I don't care.
This is not Philadelphia or Atlanta. This is a much different animal.
The Knicks are a different team too. That's it. This is a team I've never seen before.
True. No. Listen, no argument. So you're part of that crew. There's no way you can see the Knicks losing this series.
I just don't see it.
All right. No, what about you?
Way.
I don't know. I've been watching Wembanyama, and boy,
the Knicks can't stop him.
He's a beast. Who's stopping him?
No one's stopping him.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, because but if the rest of the Knicks team outscores the rest of San Antonio's team, then Wembanyama can get his 35. We can still win.
Yeah.
But it's a much different animal. Listen, I think we're going to win, but this idea that there's no way this team is losing, that's ridiculous.
Well, this Spurs
team...
And
that's how you lose series, by the way, when you have that type of confidence.
Well, they don't think that, but fans
I know, but fans are being silly. To compare San Antonio to Philly or Atlanta or Cleveland is just dumb. Well, it's not close.
If you heard that they were going to sweep these last two series, you would say, that's stupid.
No, you're 100% right.
That's all
you're
I'm
100%
saying.
right. But again, these teams are not even close to San Antonio.
Agreed.
So I want them to win. I think they're going to win, but I'm not going in with this idea that, nobody can beat the Knicks.
I didn't say that either.
Well,
you
made it sound like
I'm not saying nobody can beat the Knicks.
Well,
I'm looking at right now, these two teams, the Knicks are going to beat this team.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I think everybody's with you.
Yeah,
I really do. I think I've heard nobody in New York. I haven't heard anybody in New York pick against the Knicks. Nobody. I'm not picking against them either, just so you know, but I'm a lot more nervous.
I've never seen
them
play together like this.
No, either have I.
I've never seen this.
Either have I.
All of them, I think Benigno said it, you could pick 8 guys to take the last shot, and I'm happy with all of them.
True.
They're
even
all
Landry
good.
Shamet coming off the bench.
Good.
They got a lot of guys. We'll see. So, Kantrowitz, if you're out there, I've not gotten the call. I got a couple calls on Sunday, one call yesterday morning about this potential San Antonio trip tomorrow night. So if it's still on, let me know. That'll be fun. Game 1 on the road in San Antonio, Knicks and Spurs coming up tomorrow night.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Some very comfortable, beautiful late spring, early summer days ahead. And Los Angeles is pretty much the center of the country today. Everybody watching what's going to happen with Spencer Pratt is run for mayor. And I believe Morano is calling, Lewis. And then Steve Hilton, his run for governor. And we talked about it this morning. That seems to be a very tight three-way race between the incumbent Karen Bass, who's done a horrendous job, Spencer Pratt, who is the new darling of the media, and then this other lady who has been edging Spencer in a lot of these polls. She happens to be the DSA candidate, Netanyahu Rahman. She's Mamdani with a vagina. And that's your race out there in California. Are we going to know today, Noam, or are there going to be these shenanigans where it's going to be so close and we're not going to find out tonight? Are we going to know tonight who won these primaries?
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, you're not going to get a huge number of people rushing to the polls for a June 2nd primary. It just doesn't happen.
Not even out there, huh?
No.
With all the press it's getting and Trump's endorsements and Fox News every day.
I think you'll get larger numbers than you normally would for a June primary, but don't expect anything astronomical.
This Jackson Dart story not going away anytime soon. The football giant quarterback who introduced President Trump at Mike Lawler's great Rockland County event 2 Fridays ago. And Laura Trump had her father-in-law on her show, which is 9 p.m. Saturday nights on Fox News, My View. They talked about Jackson Dart. And just yesterday, the former great football coach at Auburn University, that wasn't his only stop yet, other great coaching stays, but his most famous was Auburn, most recently a senator in the great state of Alabama, now running for governor of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville. I love Tommy. He chimed in yesterday on the whole Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter, New York football giant situation as well. So I want to get to all of that, a lot to get to. But again, Julie Menin, the Speaker of the City Council, and Jessica Tisch, the commissioner of the police department, these two high-powered ladies were in the same room yesterday going back and forth. If you're not sure why, we're about to tell you why. As my dear friend, City Councilman Frank Morano, back on the program, he's on this committee, he'll tell us why Menin and Tisch yesterday came face to face.
This is Sid on Sports. Oh, my goodness! Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here with your sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. Looking ahead to tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. in San Antonio. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Our New York Knicks heading in as 4.5-point road underdogs, I should say, for Game 1. On the diamond in Seattle, the Mets lost 32 in 10 innings to the Mariners in the opener of a 3-game interleague series. Up next for the Mets, they have yet to announce a starter for tonight's middle game against the Mariners, but are expected to use an opener before turning to a bulk reliever as they did last night. First pitch from Seattle is scheduled for 9:40. As for the Yankees, they were off yesterday. They're picking up a series against the Cleveland Guardians today. Back at home in the Bronx, Cam Schlittler to start the opener of this 3-game set. First pitch tonight, 7:05 p.m. from this stadium. Stanley Cup Finals, they start tonight as well, 8 p.m. for the Golden Knights and the Hurricanes out in Carolina. And a lot of movement around the NFL yesterday. The Cleveland Browns traded 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the LA Rams for 2-time Pro Bowl pass rusher Jared Verse and multiple draft picks.
Wow.
It was announced yesterday.
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's huge. That's a blockbuster.
Huge.
Yeah.
He did, don't forget, last year break the sack record.
Yeah, it could be the biggest trade up to this point involving a defensive player in the NFL.
They're both great, though.
Yeah.
Verse is great, too, but not as good as...
No. Myles Garrett's
Garrett.
He's a superstar.
So he goes to the Rams, and every year the Rams are right there.
Yep.
Right there, that great offense. They got a anti-Semite who may be the best wide receiver in football in Pakua.
Yep.
But that's a really good football team.
Very good, and they
Myles
just got better.
Garrett, wow.
Yeah, and the Browns got a haul, too. Receive a first-round draft pick in 2027, a second-round pick in 2028, and a third-rounder in 2029. And then we heard about this yesterday as well. Not as much of a surprise, obviously, but the Philadelphia Eagles agreed to trade star wide receiver A.J. Brown to the Patriots for a first-round pick. in 2028 and a 2027
We knew
fifth
that
round
already,
pick.
though.
Yes, we did.
We actually knew the team, the whole thing.
Yeah, we just didn't know exactly what year these picks would be in, if
Right.
it would be a first-round pick. I think the Eagles are happy they got a first-rounder in 28, and then we'll see what happens with
So
this
you got the
fifth
Rams,
round.
who are a legitimate Super Bowl contender every year, getting one of the best defensive players ever.
Yes.
And you got the Patriots, who were in the Super Bowl
just in the
last
Super
year.
Bowl. And,
They were pathetic. They got blown out by Seattle, but they got there. And now you give the third-year quarterback,
Drake May.
A.J. Brown.
Yep.
Two big deals.
It's a big step for the Patriots in terms of, getting over that hump that clearly
I
they
wouldn't
couldn't
use
get
that,
over.
not after the Mike Vrabel situation.
You see what you did there?
I did. Yeah, pretty good.
Oh, yeah. All right, that's your sports sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Spoilers. Go to peerlesssporlers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Spoilers, the world's best bill spoilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Moving to the Office of Community Safety, the executive plan included transfers of funding from existing departments and new funding to create the Office of Community Safety. Have any programs shifted from the NYPD's purview to OCS?
No.
To what extent is NYPD engaged with the administration, and what specific roles and coordination will occur between NYPD and OCS?
Those conversations have not yet commenced.
So the administration's announcement of approximately $260 million for the creation of OCS, there have been no conversations with NYPD about the agency and who will be doing what?
Not at this time. I expect that those conversations will begin to occur. But as I mentioned before, in response to the last question, no programmatic responsibility is being shifted from the NYPD to.
So here's what you had. Tisch spent 4 hours, before the city council defending the NYPD budget. She talked about all the success the NYPD is having, major drops in murders, shootings, robberies, and other crimes. But, according to Frank Morano, the amazing city councilman and former colleague here at WABC, the biggest story was not crime statistics. It was Tisch revealing that despite Mayor Mamdani spending $260 million on a new Office of Community Safety, the NYPD has not yet had any substantive, maybe not at all, no discussions about how it would work, while also announcing plans to hire hundreds of additional police officers, putting, I believe, Tisch, I should say, at odds again with the mayor's original campaign promises. So it does look like, despite Mamdani, the boss, he's the boss, right? He's Tisch's boss, bottom line. He's her boss. It looks like, despite the fact that Mamdani is the boss, that Tisch is running the show. Here he is, City Councilman Frank Morano, the great one. Frank, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. It's great to be back. Thank you for having me, as always. I had the privilege of attending the Republican Jewish Coalition event that's run by your cousin Norm Coleman the other night. It was a great night, but it struck me because almost everybody in the room was talking about you, that you definitely are one of the most prominent Republican Jewish folks in New York City. And then Friday, there's the Talkers Conference, and it's out on Long Island. I don't know that you're going to make it there. I think you're at a different stage in your radio career these days. But everybody who's coming in from out of the country to be at that event is talking about you, Sid Rosenberg. And I was thinking there are so few people in radio or politics that could not even be in the room, and they're still dominating both conversations. And hats off to you. You know, I know what it takes to do a good radio show, especially for one for 4 hours. And, well, at least I know what it takes to do a radio show. I know the amount of work that goes into it. Yeah. And people should make no mistake that just because you make it sound effortless, you're putting in a ton of work. And it's amazing to me that you're at as many places as you are. So it's a real treat to be talking to you again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know that heavy 100 list is, that was very nice, Frank, and you're a very talented guy, too. That list is coming out, I think, next week. I'm not going to be there on Friday. Tomorrow. Michael Harrison's upset with me. He said, I know you kind of, You kind of went past us, But I'm not doing that. I'm not treating Michael Harrison with any disrespect. I love him. I love that conference. In fact, I'm going to be on Joe Pag's big-time radio show in Texas tomorrow. He's number 7 on that heavy 100 list. He's going to be at Hofstra on Friday. And the funny thing about the RJC dinner is, as you mentioned, my first cousin, Norm Coleman, who I love desperately, he runs that with my friend Matt Brooks. So they send out a bunch of flyers. Hey, after you march...
You're on the flyer.
I'm on the flyer. Right, I'm on the flyer. But not one person from the RJC called me, contacted me, asked me to speak, so I didn't go.
Yeah, I was shocked. I figured, you had something else to do, or you had a long day because it was the parade, and that's why you were there.
I did. I mean, the Jerusalem Post, where I spoke yesterday, that was a big deal. They also mobbed me like I'm Trump. The people go nuts when I walk in. They had a gala Sunday, and I didn't go to that. I would have gone to the RJC. You were there, Bruce Blakeman, my cousin Norm, but no one contacted me. But nevertheless, I know it was a great night, and I'm glad you were there. Let's get though to the to this meeting yesterday. Now, are you part of one of these committees? What is your role in all this?
So yesterday there was. So this is the budget. We're negotiating the budget now, and I'm on the finance committee, and I'm proud that Staten Island has a spot on the finance committee, and I'm proud to be a Republican on the finance committee. And but so I'm there every day, and the finance committee is doing joint committee meetings with everybody. After I hang up with you, I'm heading into City Hall. We're doing a Finance Committee and Criminal Justice, which I'm also on. We're going to question the Correction Commissioner. But yesterday was a big, big day. It was a day that all the council members want a mug for the cameras. Even the co-chair of the Public Safety Committee, Oswald Felice, said we almost have enough city council members here to to have a full city council meeting. And it's true. A lot of people showed up. So any city council member can participate in these hearings. So the Finance Committee has to be there basically, and so does the Criminal Justice Committee, but any council member can go. And because Jessica Tisch was there and all the drama involving the police department and everything else, everybody made sure to show up. So the speaker, she could certainly participate, and when she's there, she always gets the opportunity to ask the first question. And, she did. And the headline in yesterday's hearing, and I put your friend, Commissioner Tisch, and I'm a great admirer of hers as well. She did very well. She came in and made a very strong case that the NYPD is doing its job, that murders are down, shootings are down, robberies are down. And she announced something that I didn't think we'd be seeing in the Mamdani era, quite frankly, that the department is actually going to be hiring more officers, which is good news. But Speaker Menon, she did exactly what a speaker is supposed to do, especially one that's at odds with the current mayor, and she asked the tough oversight questions. And I think one of the most revealing moments was what you just played, when she pressed the commissioner about Mayor Mamdani's new $260 million Office of Community Safety. And the answer was, I think the only description for it is startling. There really hasn't been meaningful coordination yet between the NYPD and this brand new office.
You say meaningful coordination. As far as I heard, what about meaningful? Even not meaningful, there's been none. Zero.
So you got to ask yourself the question: if you're spending $250 million on a public safety initiative, you'd think the police department would know exactly how it fits into the picture. So this whole department, which Mamdani campaigned on, it's a disaster even before it gets started, to use a Sid Rosenberg favorite. The other issue is the numbers. And if there's one issue where maybe I thought there was one weakness in Commissioner Tisch's testimony, it was maybe this. The commissioner testified that hate crimes are down, but the NYPD's own CompStat website, which people can look up for themselves, shows that hate crimes are up more than 7% year to date. And Speaker Menon, I thought, was right to ask for clarification, because New Yorkers, we deserve one set of numbers, not different numbers depending on which reporting period you're looking at. So my takeaway was that Jessica Tisch is doing a solid job running the police department. Politically, putting on my commentator's hat, she did really the impossible yesterday, which she made herself and the department look good while making the mayor look bad, which many police commissioners have tried to do. Bratton tried to do it with Giuliani, was not successful. And this is the first time in modern history that I've seen a commissioner acquitting themselves and their department very well while making clear that their mayor is totally out to lunch. And I think the speaker is doing a solid job conducting oversight. And the person who didn't come out looking great yesterday was obviously Zohran Mamdani. The hearing raised real questions about whether City Hall has a coherent public safety strategy beyond just letting Jessica Tisch do her thing. And to me, the answer is that it doesn't. And you could tell that by the coverage today. You're seeing in the left-wing publications like Hellgate, they're killing Mamdani because they're allowing more police officers to be hired. The right-leaning publications and the so-called, unbiased publications like AM New York, they also don't paint a good picture of what Mamdani's doing with policing. So not a good day for Mayor Mamdani, but the fact that by and large shootings, et cetera, are down is a good day for New York.
No question about it. And, you get these moronic ex-cops who do lousy podcasts that nobody listens to. They're out there every day on Twitter saying Tisch is quitting, and she's not. I speak to Jessica a lot. Spoke to her Sunday. I think I spoke to her yesterday, but definitely Sunday. She's not quitting anytime soon. But she is clearly not operating, I love this about her, from a place of intimidation. Go back to last week when the mayor stood up there and said, I'm not marching in Sunday's parade. I campaigned on that. I'm not going to do it. And then Jessica Tisch speaks right after the mayor. She could have just said, okay, he's not marching, but I am. But no. If you really listen carefully, I pointed this out on Friday, she said, he's not marching, but I am. And she threw in the word proudly. That word, as I said Friday, and people copied me, was sticking it up Mamdani's ass. So she stuck it up his ass about the parade on Sunday. She went at him yesterday about this $260 million office with no conversation. So don't tell me that Jessica Tisch is intimidated or scared when it comes to working with the mayor. It seems to me like these days she's got the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, politically, I think she's in a very strong position because if she were to make the decision to leave, one, she still has every opportunity to run for mayor herself. She still got upwards of $1 billion, which is never a bad place to be. Right. And, she takes away a crucial aspect of Mamdani's cover. Now, almost everything that Mamdani does, whether subtly or overtly, he does something against the Jewish people. And it's a great thing for him to be able to say, well, look, I have a Jewish police commissioner who's proudly wearing a Jewish star on her neck every single day. If she goes, that cover for him is gone. Also, all of the people, including in the podcast sphere, like you mentioned, who want to bury Mamdani on policing issues, he can't point to the fact that, look, I kept on, Jessica Tisch, a police commissioner for another administration. So, yeah, she's really she's really in the driver's seat politically and in terms of public safety.
I think you're right about the mayor thing. I think she is going to run. And, of course, the longer she sticks in, in this sector as the police commissioner, she sticks with that, I think the better her chances are of winning a mayor's race, especially when these numbers continue to favor what her and the police department is doing. I joke around about the mayor's race, and we've even heard, John Schell, the former cop, he's going to run. I love John Schell, love him. He's not going to win. Michael Rappaport has put his name out there. Even Julie Menon, your speaker, although I did hear a couple of weeks ago she said she's not going to run. But I do think Jessica Tisch will, and I think she'll have a good chance. Are you surprised to hear that guy that you actually endorsed, and so did I, for the better part of 6 years, after two really miserable finishes, I mean all-time low finishes, are you surprised to hear our old buddy Curtis Sliwa is going to run again?
So I don't believe that is real, honestly. I mean, I think Curtis as well or better than most people ever.
Well, I'll tell you this, if he's doing that to get ratings, last week was a 5-1 to a 1-9. So that's not working.
Paying attention, right? Curtis has some issues to work out with the Republicans of the city. I mean, you had a lot of Republicans that were soured him for the choosing to focus on Andrew Cuomo rather than Mamdani. You had a lot of people that were soured him for not dropping out. But I got to tell you, a lot of folks that stuck with him are not happy that a lot of his campaign workers, who are not exactly wealthy and in some cases left jobs that they were being paid for, that they haven't been paid yet. So until Curtis is able to work that out, which he says, and I believe he's trying, until he's able to work that out and make sure those folks get made whole, I don't see that going anywhere in Republican circles. So, I mean, look, Curtis is, for all the criticisms of him, he is a master showman, and I think he knows the best way to make sure that he stays in the headlines is to imply that he's going to run again. I think even he's politically astute enough to realize that it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But we'll see. I mean, the problem isn't necessarily with Curtis for wanting to be mayor, right? A lot of people want to be mayor. The problem is a Republican Party vacuum that made it so that there was no other meaningful candidate that could coalesce support 2 times in a row. I mean, what were the alternatives? The guy from Junior's Cheesecake or Fernando Mateo?
Right, that was 2 times in a row. So just so you know, I saw Ed Cox at that rally, Mike Lawler's rally, where President Trump motioned me over. And I told him that. I said, I'm not going to run in all likelihood, but I'm considering it because I can't allow Curtis to do it. It's just going to embarrass the Republican Party even more. And until I see some names that are real decent names, I may have no choice. And he didn't disagree with me. So there is some onus on the Republican leaders here in New York to find some decent candidates. And I'm talking about every race. Now, I love Bruce Blakeman, and I like his chances against Kathy Hochul. Look, I'm biased. He's a dear friend of mine. But in all these races, the Republican candidates seem to come up short of somebody that this town, which is mostly Democrat, is going to flip to.
Yeah. Well, look, I think a lot of it is outside the individual candidate's control, right? If people were not going to vote for Lee Zeldin because of the Roe versus Wade decision, that's not Lee Zeldin's fault, right? If people aren't going to vote for Bruce Blakeman because they don't like the job Donald Trump is doing, that's no reflection on the job that he's doing county executive. And you have a situation where in part because of reforms under the Giuliani era, to some extent the Bloomberg era, and some of the things that were changed in terms of parole by Governor Pataki and others, crime has been so good for so long that people have forgotten how bad things can be. Now, you are starting to see things go the other way, whether it's subway crime, which is definitely going in the wrong direction, or whether it's the fact that, as Speaker Menon pointed out on the rape numbers, rapes are going in the wrong direction.
Way up.
Yep. You do have a situation where you're starting to see the canary in the coal mine emerge, but it's really an artful thing that some of the Democratic politicians in the city and state have been able to do, is they've been able to take the issue of affordability, which has been driven not solely but in large part by their policies, taxes, spending, energy prices, a whole bunch of other things, and they've been able to somehow blame Republicans for that. Now, Mamdani was very smart, I think, to run on the issue of affordability because nobody can afford to live in this city. But the people that are getting squeezed the most are the middle class. Now, the solution to that, I don't think, is socialism. You had a great interview with Randy Fine yesterday, and you pointed out that, Texas and Florida, in spite of the fact that they have a lot more people, they have a lower budget than New York State. And yet, all we do is cry poverty, and Mayor Mamdani, it's almost like he's holding the taxpayers hostage in order to raise taxes. So until people are able to go back to the days of separating, they used to say all politics is local. That's the old Tip O'Neill expression. Until they're able to go back to voting for a Democrat for president and a Republican for governor, I think Republicans are going to have a tough time in this city, even if we run a candidate as great as Sid Rosenberg. But, in the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s, it was not unusual to see people voting straight Democrat for president and then voting for Republicans like Nelson Rockefeller and John Lindsay, Rudy Giuliani, George Pataki, Al D'Amato for statewide office, city office. And now it's unthinkable because if you're a partisan Democrat who hates Trump, you're not voting for, Bruce Blakeman. No. You're not voting for even non-political offices like Attorney General, where Republicans have a very good candidate, Sarita.
Yeah, Sarita's a nice girl. Yeah, I've met her a couple of times. And we had Michael Henry. I like him, too.
Yeah, he's great. He's a Staten Islander. He's a
great guy. And in all fairness, I feel the same way. I could never envision myself voting for any Democrat. But Julie Menon, right? I'm guilty, too. On the way out, Julie Menon, will she run for mayor?
I don't know. I mean, again, putting on my commentator's hat, not the politician's hat, there's clearly, I don't think, room in the Democratic primary for both Menon and Tisch, right? So they both occupy pretty much the same lane, which is the non-socialist Democratic Party lane. It's Cuomo without the baggage, and with a much better record in both cases, quite honestly. So I think only one of them is going to be in a position to run. Now, the luxury that they both have is that they're both well connected financially, and they both have a lot of money, so they don't need to spend like a Curtis Lewa would or a Frank Morano would 3 years trying to raise money running for citywide office. They can have the luxury of jumping in 10 months before. The difficulty that Julie Menon has is that she's got to negotiate a budget for the next 3 years with the guy that she might want to run against. And the difficulty that Jessica Tisch has is that she's got to work for the guy that she would be poised to run against. So I think there are some practical concerns, but the truth is I don't know. I think that there's a lot of people. I guarantee you she hears it every single day. There's maybe 18 non-crazy Democratic colleagues that we serve with. I guarantee you every single one of them is begging her to run every single day against Zohran Mamdani, because a lot of the Democrats are not happy with Mamdani's doing. And I'm not just talking about governmentally. This $260 million community safety boondoggle threatening to raise property taxes, the pied-à-terre tax, doing these insane videos outside Ken Griffin's house, this constant barrage of anti-Semitic conduct. But politically, a lot of the Democrats are not happy with him. They're not happy that he endorsed in a Democratic primary against Adriano Espaillat, who's a liberal Democrat.
That's right.
Running in Manhattan.
Yep.
They're not happy that he endorsed against Antonio Reynoso running in Brooklyn. They're not happy that he endorsed against this fella Carl Wilson that just got elected in Manhattan. So he's been a disruptive force even within the Democratic Party. And you have a lot of liberal Democrats, including a lot of people you can't stand. And I was watching a little bit of the clips of the Brad Lander, Dan Goldman.
Me too.
Thinking of you, because for you that's like Alien versus Predator. No matter who wins, we lose, right? But they view Mamdani as a very negative force within Democratic circles, and I think a lot of people view either Tisch or Menon as the antidote to that. I mean, so we'll see what happens. I don't know is the long answer.
All right, but you were great this morning, man. You're great every time, and no disrespect to the other guys that do the overnight show, but you're the best by far, and you're doing a great job in the city council, and I love you to pieces. Thanks for hopping on this morning. That was really great, Frank. Thank you so much.
Well, Sid, I'm grateful for your friendship. And whenever you always list the potential Sid Rosenberg for mayor supporters, I hear Lara Trump mentioned, I hear KT McFarland mentioned, Bruce Blakeman, and maybe I haven't been overt enough, but you've always supported me in everything I've done, radio-wise and politically. So absolutely list me at the top of the list of potential Sid Rosenberg endorsers.
You're on the list, Frank Morano. Thank you, buddy. You're terrific. I love you. Thank you, pal.
Thanks, brother.
All right. There he is, City Councilman Frank Morano, and he knows his stuff, man. Nobody knows more about city politics than him. We got a lot of great guys. Hank Shankoff, he's terrific. He's on the show. He knows a lot. But in terms of the daily metrics and the folks that are involved in every party in this city, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who knows more than Frank. So thank you, Frank. We'll take a short break. Still lots more to do. His buddy out there on Staten Island, Nicole Malliotakis, the amazing congresswoman, she's going to join us. Before it's all said and done, we're going to talk to Bo Dietl. We're going to talk to Larry Kudlow. A few other greats. It is the Tuesday edition.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
When Keith Kantrowitz offered to fly me on that private plane with Spike Lee and Ben Stiller and all these guys to San Antonio for Game 1 tomorrow night, he said, Sid, you got to go. You're not getting anywhere near the Garden. I said, really? Trump's coming. He said, Sid, the tickets are like $100,000 a piece. So, no, I don't have any tickets. And the other one that I get a text on every other day is, Sid, you got to help me. I got to be at the White House on June 14th. Happens to be Flag Day. Happens to be President Trump's 80th birthday, and happens to be Dana White's big outdoor lawn UFC event right on the White House lawn. And I say, I'll get you tickets as soon as I get mine. I've already called Monica Crowley. I've texted President Trump. You can't get them. There are Congress people that are willing to cut off fingers to be at that event. I think there's only 500 tickets. There'll be 100,000 people across the street. But Nick tickets and the UFC bout on the White House lawn on Trump's birthday, good luck. Let me take a short break. When I get back, she's the amazing congresswoman out of Staten Island and Brooklyn.
They are crazy.
They are
played the right
crazy. You played the right song, exactly. You didn't even realize what a great job that was, Lou. The perfect song.
They're crazy.
All right, Nicole's coming up next, and she's gonna take a shot at Jayapal. I always love that. You'll find out why coming up next. Nicole Malliotakis is back.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And about the same time that Obama and Castro, who last I checked, not exactly our friend, they were doing the wave together, there was an explosion. ISIS was blowing up an airport in Brussels. You remember this, Noam, right? You may remember there was a brother-sister combination out of New Jersey, local kids, good-looking kids. Not that it matters, but they were. And they were both killed. And Barack Obama couldn't care less. Kind of like when Foley, the journalist, was beheaded by Jihadi John and ISIS. And Obama was annoyed they bothered him on the 9th hole on the golf course. That's your great black Jesus, Barack Obama. But the point is, he buddied up to Cuba. Years later, they're still doing it, the Democrats. They're still doing it, especially Jayapal, who's a ardent anti-Semite and a terrible rep out of the state of Washington. And I'm glad to see that a Cuban-American congresswoman, Nicole Malliotakis, is calling him out. She wants investigations. Nicole, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. Good to be with you, my friend.
Nice to have you back, too, sweetheart. You got tickets for June 14th?
Actually, it's funny. I guess they're doing some type of lottery.
Is that right? Because I know they're giving, out of the 500, 250, I think, go to the military. And now you're up at only 250. So I'm only kidding. I'm actually more concerned about this Cuba story. I'm glad that you want to see some investigations.
Can I just say one thing, Sid? Sure. You are no longer allowed to request any tickets after you were a no-show at the State of the Union this year. After Mike Lawler and I head over heels, we actually went so out of our way to get you a ticket, and then you didn't show up. Unbelievable. And now you're going to request tickets for the UFC? You've got to be kidding me.
So, of course, I didn't show up because it was a 37,000-inch snowstorm. But you know what's funny what you just said? So 2 weeks ago, Lawler sends me this invitation to come to Rockland County because the president is coming. And I said, listen, Mike, if you put me somewhere in that crowd where I can't see him and talk to him and touch him and feel him, I'm not coming. And he said to me exactly what you just said. He goes, wait a second. You have no leverage. Last I checked, me and Nicole tried to get you to Washington, and you screwed us. He said, just come. It'll be fine. As it turned out, of course, I did have a chance to shake hands and speak with the president, but he said the same exact thing that you did. So I'm never going to live that down, am I, Nicole? That's it.
Yeah, you're officially off the list, okay? And don't blast us next year when you don't get tickets for the State of the Union, okay?
Oh, my God. That is funny. I am coming straight to you next year, just so you know. This fight that you want to put out there with these Democrats that are buddying up to the Cuban folks. Tell the listeners exactly what that is all about and exactly what you're worried about, Nicole.
So right around the time that our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and our great president said that they were going to push this regime to make changes. Remember, 67 years, the Cuban people, including my relatives, have lived under oppression. They have been starved. They have been treated as slaves. They make about $20 a month, and they're treated as slaves for the government. If they express themselves in any way in opposition to what the government is doing, they go to jail, they get beaten, and in many cases, people have been murdered. There's no freedom of press, there's no free and fair elections, but also they're a national security threat to us because they are working in cahoots with Iran, with Communist China, with Russia, all our adversaries. They help these terrorist organizations like Hamas. So, and they are 90 miles from our shore. So they've provided, base of operation for our adversaries, and including spy capabilities. And, this is a serious issue, and this is our moment right now where we're trying to get regime change, not just to bring freedom to the Cuban people, which my family would obviously love to see, but because they are a threat in this hemisphere. And what happens, you have, at the same time that this is going on, you have Jayapal, and you have a member, Johnson, from Illinois, Jonathan Johnson. They go to Cuba on taxpayer expense. They go on a congressional delegation trip to go meet with the communist regime to talk about how they could undermine our government and avoid sanctions. Now, President Trump tweeted an article this morning where I talk about that they should be investigated for treason. This is unbelievable that they're doing this. And by the way, the speaker needs to cut off any travel to these adversarial countries. This is, I think it's crazy that this is happening, and they should not have been there.
Yep.
And it has to be investigated.
No, it reminds me of when that idiot from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, went to visit that gang member. Right, in El Salvador. He goes to visit the gang member in El Salvador, also going against what the Trump administration is trying to do, which, is trying to keep Americans safe every day. But you're right. I do think it's treasonous. I'm glad to hear that Trump actually retweeted what you wrote this morning. And I like what you're saying about Mike Johnson, too, about the travel. Do you think that those guys will do something about this?
Well, I'm certainly going to speak, to the speaker personally about this. But look, I do believe that we're seeing Treasury, by the way, go after Code Pink, go after Hassan Piker. But Code Pink is another organization that is heavily funded by communist China, and they again are here undermining our country, putting out propaganda to undermine our policies. They've met with the leaders of Code Pink, have met with not only the communist Cuba regime, they've met with Iran, they've met with Hamas leadership over the years. And so, and the thing with Cuba is that it's obviously there's an embargo, there are sanctions. And so it's not just like you're going to meet, people go to communist China, but we still have relations with communist China. With Cuba, there's an embargo, there's sanctions, it's different. And so that's why I think that this has gotten very much out of hand. You saw Ilhan Omar go a couple of years ago, and they come back basically blaming the United States for the problems in Cuba when it is the communist regime that has starved and tortured its people. Now, obviously, what's going on right now has exacerbated it. It is worse because oil is not being let into the country, what has happened in Venezuela. But it's not the fault of their problems are the fault of obviously communism, and the socialists in Congress and the communists in Congress don't seem to recognize that. They still want to bring those ridiculous policies here to the United States. Let them defend why the Cuban people are earning $15 to $20 a month when there's billions and billions of dollars that are kept by entities in the regime, and the leadership, the communist leadership, live like kings. Okay, they have tons of money. They live like billionaires. They are billionaires. And meanwhile, the people are suffering and don't even have access to food, to medicine, and to basic necessities.
Nicole Malliotakis, of course, of Cuban descent, as is the aforementioned amazing Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, as is another guy, I think, running for president in 2028 that I like a lot out of Texas, Ted Cruz. So a lot of amazing Republican folks that come from Cuba. One more on Cuba. We just did this in Venezuela and took out Maduro. It was one of the great things that any president has ever done. Forget about Trump, has ever done. And we're not going to have to see the same firepower, obviously, to do what we did in Venezuela in Cuba. But how far do you want to see, Nicole, America go to make sure that whatever operation they do succeeds in Cuba?
Look, the human rights crimes committed by Raul Castro are awful. I mean, he's responsible for the murder of countless individuals, but there's a particular situation. The reason why he was charged by the United States government, they killed 3 American citizens, 1 permanent American resident, on a humanitarian mission back in 1996. Every president since then has turned a blind eye. President Trump refuses to do that. The DOJ has charged Raul Castro, and we should bring him to justice. Now, the guy's 94 years old, so if it's between, having him come and sit in a jail for a couple of years and actually getting them to use this as leverage to get them to flee the regime and allow for people to organize and create political parties and have free and fair elections and just have some type of say in their destiny, I prefer that we see, use this as leverage to have regime change. And this is why it's so crazy that Jayapal is going over there. And actually, at this time where we're trying to put pressure and drive the regime out, you have members of Congress who are actually going there to try to give them a lifeline. It's just insane.
It's crazy. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, let's cover this closer to home. I know you've been back, you back the blue, and you've got legislation out there, back the blue legislation to protect our federal law enforcement officers. We see what's happening, Nicole, every day out there in Newark, New Jersey at Delaney Hall, and we don't want this to turn into Minnesota where Preddy and Good died. But again, this narrative coming from the left that ICE, or NICE, as Trump calls them, they're out there killing people and wonderful people like Preddy and Good as if we dragged them out of their homes or church, and that's why they died that day. We know that's not the case. They were instigators. They didn't deserve to die, but they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And for the most part, overwhelmingly, ICE does amazing work getting rid of horrible people, deporting them, finding children. It's not even close. The numbers point to an amazing job by ICE, yet all these Democrats vilify them every day, demonize them every day, and it's putting these officers' lives in danger. You want to change that, don't you?
Yeah, in fact, my legislation is safer for everyone involved, right? Protesters want to protest. They need to stay 15 feet out of the way of law enforcement doing their job. That's all federal law enforcement. I'd love to do it for, local guys. NYPD would love this. But the problem is, obviously, as a member of Congress, we can only reach on the federal level. There is similar legislation, by the way, at the state level. But what I will say is that this is a common sense piece of legislation. People want to protest. They have that right. They do not have the right to be agitators and hinder law enforcement when they're trying to do their jobs. And so this is safer for everyone involved. And I hope that we can get some traction. I've already spoken with Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan about this issue. I think he likes the idea because it makes sense. But, this goes to a bigger issue here. These guys do not want to cooperate, the state people. Our governor, whether it's New York's governor or New Jersey's governor, our mayor, they want to do everything they can to make it impossible for ICE to get criminals off our streets. Look, Laken Riley's murderer was actually arrested in New York and was released back onto the street, went to Georgia, killed Laken Riley. You had the poor 82-year-old man who was killed, shoved in front of a subway by somebody who was here illegally. Again, this was completely preventable. When these people are arrested and they have criminal records and you have the Democrats going out of their way to release them from jail through a back door so ICE can't get them, now ICE has to go on the street and find them. And so if they don't want this type of stuff playing out in streets, then they should cooperate and be somewhat reasonable. I mean, it's just completely insane that we're protecting our government, our state, Hochul, primarily, and this mayor are actually protecting these individuals. And then you have these judges, by the way, that are helping them, again, escape the back door of the courthouse. We're talking about criminals. I'm being specific about, these criminals. And what does Kathy Hochul do? After multiple people have been murdered, whether it be in an arson fire, shoved in a subway, or murdered like Laken Riley, what does she do? She doubles down. And now the Democrats in Albany changing the law once again to make it even harder for any local governments that do want to cooperate to turn over these criminals, like Nassau County under Bruce Blakeman. She's prohibiting that. Yeah. And so it's a sad situation. And I think that if we had more cooperation from the city and the state, you wouldn't see this type of escalation that we're seeing right now.
It's a sad situation for the whole state. I mean, thank God, Nicole, for people like you, and I mean that. I think it's terrific. I really do. You and our friend Mike Lawler and a few other law folks here, but the mayor, you wouldn't even say his name moments ago. You said this mayor. And the governor, she's a complete disaster. And as long as you've got that 1-2 punch in this state, I'm sorry. we're in all kinds of trouble. I mean, I saw you, like everybody else, opine on the fact that this creep Mamdani didn't come to the parade on Sunday. As a proud Jewish man, I didn't want him there, but that's not the point. The point is, it's not whether or not Sid Rosenberg wants him there. It's the fact that this mayor should have been there. This parade was not in Jerusalem. He hates Israel. Fine. This parade was not in Jerusalem. It was not, Bibi wasn't the grand marshal. His police commissioner was. He cannot make one legitimate excuse why he wouldn't go to a parade on Fifth Avenue in New York City, whether Israel's name is on it or not. It was not an Israeli parade. It was a parade celebrating Jewish people in his own city.
The only mayor in the 61-year history of this parade, Republican or Democrat, that has not shown up at the parade. I think particularly now at the height of anti-Semitism that we're seeing right now, where we're leading the nation. Another sad stat about New York. We're not just leading the nation when it comes to high taxes and driving people out. We're leading the nation now when it comes to anti-Semitism. And these are a result of the policies of this mayor, of this governor. And it really, I thought, was very striking. And I thought it was a wonderful contrast to see that the police commissioner showed up, that the speaker of the city council showed up. So those are two citywide leaders that were present and showed a big contrast with the mayor. And again, you had Mike Bloomberg there, you had Eric Adams there. It was good to see both a Republican and Democrat former mayors participate. But I think it sends a real clear message to the Jewish community where this mayor stands. And in a way, like you said, I don't think he was missed much.
No.
But I do think that, somebody who supports the BDS movement, who basically stood with Hamas until the very end of his campaign when he finally condemned them. And then he also said he was going to arrest Netanyahu when he came to New York City. I mean, we know where he stands, unfortunately, and this is what people voted for, and now we're stuck for the next 4 years.
3.5, thank God.
3.5. You're counting down the days.
All right, last one, 60 seconds. The great congresswoman out of Staten Island and Brooklyn, Nicole Malliotakis. Where are we with the reconciliation with the budget?
Well, we're in D.C. today, and we're going to be meeting and talking about what the next step is. I mean, I was disappointed that the Senate went home, and we're waiting on the Senate, basically, to send us the final bill to fund ICE, to fund Customs and Border Protection. They do have funding right now, but they need more money, obviously. We have the America 250 coming up. We have the 25th anniversary of 9/11. There's the World Cup. You have a lot going on, a lot of activities, and we need to make sure that they have money to do their job. Now, the DHS is fully funded, but obviously, with the amount of people that Joe Biden had let in, people that were on the terror watch list that we caught at the border, hundreds of them, you have millions of people that have gone undetected into our country. We don't know who they are, where they are, or what their intentions are. And then you have the Democrats on top of it, making it so much harder for people to find criminals and potential terrorists. And so I think that, we need to get this done as quickly as possible. Now, in Reconciliation 3, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but my committee, Ways and Means, we oversee tax, and I'm already working on provisions that we could potentially help get in there if there is the opportunity. One of my bills I just introduced yesterday was a bill to increase the exemption on the capital gains tax for seniors who are selling their homes. A lot of seniors hold on to their houses, and they want to downsize because their children have grown. They moved on. They need a smaller space. It's a lot of upkeep and expense for a senior citizen. And so my bill would actually give them an opportunity to sell their homes and protect their nest egg, allowing a new family to move in, allowing them to do what they want to do, which is downsize. And so that's a good bill that I hope we can get there. It's very tailored for seniors, but we do have one that actually increases the capital gains tax exemption for everyone as well, because that hasn't been modernized since 1997. It was never indexed. It was never increased. And now it's at, if you earn $250,000 profit on your sale of your home, anything above that gets taxed. Over $500,000 if you're a married couple. Here in New York City, obviously, my district alone, the average sale price is about $700,000. So a lot of people build their equity. That's their life savings. That's their nest egg. And they don't want to be taxed on it. And they're right. They shouldn't be taxed on it to the extent that the government is doing. So we're hoping to provide some relief to build on, what we were able to deliver in the first package, which was obviously the SALT relief, as well as the senior bonus deduction, which was a bill that I drafted that helped return the money paid on Social Security back to 51 million seniors across the country. And so, we continue to look for progress and ways to help seniors and taxpaying Americans who work so hard and should keep their money, not give it to the government, as we see hopefully our state people will match some of this stuff, and we could see that added relief on the local level.
It's a great job, Nicole Malliotakis, as always. Great job here on the radio. Great job in D.C. Great job here in Brooklyn and Staten Island. We love you, Nick. Thank you so much.
Thanks, my friend. Take care.
You too. Nicole Malliotakis right there, the amazing congresswoman out of Staten Island and Brooklyn. A lot more to do today. Alex Traiman's going to stop by, jns.org in Israel. What's really going on between Bibi and Trump? Alex Zdan, his primary is today.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Bo, welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, and thank you, Sid. I've been listening. You have a great show, but I got some real meat. I got some real meat that I'm bringing to this, like these hearings yesterday with City Council Speaker and the Commissioner Tisch. This is just part of an inexperienced little smiley boy. He has no clue of what he's running, like the OCS, Office of Community Safety. $260 million. We wonder why our budget is falling down. It's the same as that jerk-off violence interrupters. You ever hear that one? He put
Oops. What happened to the phone?
Guy in the face. And slashed the guy in the face when the police came to investigate. You know what these violence interrupters? So we don't talk to police. So we're paying $100 million, $260 million for the other jerk-off idea. This is what an inexperienced punk. And before I get into the real thing, that he's got a new bureau. It's the Office of Mass Engagement. I'll get to that in a second. That's another jerk-off.
Oh, before you get to the next office, the good news is I had Frank Morano on earlier. He did a great job with it. Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner, when she's being questioned by City Council Speaker Julie Menon. I like them both. Jessica more, obviously. She did a good job yesterday, Bo. You got to give her credit. Jessica Tisch sounds like she's running this city.
I do, and what we need is more cops, and what we got to do is we got to do good backgrounds. We got to get a better quality. We just shouldn't put bodies on there that breathe, that pass the test. We need good professional cops, and that's what it's all about. One more thing. I spoke to the powers that be. People, don't worry about the manholes. These are people that climbed in after the rains, and what they do is look for valuables down there. So they're not terrorists, so ease off on that. Hey, great news. Hassan Piker, your best friend there, he's been banned from England. Did you know that?
Yes.
They will not allow him. Why isn't he banned from the United States? I don't understand.
Why? Because he's best friends with the guy you voted for, Mayor Mamdani.
Oh, no, you know better than that. Hey, listen, and then all of a sudden my friend there, who I support, Bruce Blakeman, should be the governor. All of a sudden, he's sitting down with the other thief, Eric Adams, the Albanian citizen. Why did he get an Albanian citizenship? Because there's no extradition. What our friend should ask him, Blakeman should ask him, what did you do with the $7 billion, Eric?
Please, listen. I'm with you. I get so frustrated. I was sitting at a table yesterday at the Jerusalem Post conference with my friend Liz Pipko and some rabbi, and I said, "What is it with you people? This love, like Bill Ackman tweeting out an Adams video. What a great guy he is. What is this love for Eric Adams? He deserted the Jewish people for 16 months after October 7th, and yet they can't wait Israelis to do business with him. They talk about this guy like he's Rudy Giuliani or Mike Bloomberg. The truth is, he sucks." He sucked.
And the banks that was running the education thing, they're stealing there. You got all his under lieutenants that came to me, want to be charged 3 times the amount with kickbacks. This guy's one of the most corrupt guys. And if he wasn't corrupt, he would be reelected. We wouldn't have this scumbag Mamdani.
Well, let me ask you, because he seems, Dietl, busier than ever. If he worked this hard when he was mayor, he may have had a chance to win. He's on Twitter every 15 minutes. He's at every parade. He's at every business meeting. He's all over the city. Do you think there's a possibility that Eric Adams may run again?
When I get finished with him, when I get finished telling him what this guy did, he wouldn't run for dog collector. You better go back to Albania. Now, people, we got news media. Why isn't it all over TV? There's riots going on all over Europe. My son was robbed in London.
Friends of mine, their kids are robbed. Rapes are going on all over Europe. We're talking about England, France, Italy, Ireland, Germany, by these scumbag migrant radical Muslims that are all over the place. Why isn't it being shown on TV? You know what? That's what they wanted to come to the United States. People, there was 900 arrests. Over 200 cops were assaulted in a hospital. People in critical condition. This is what's coming to America. And we're starting with the lead scumbag. Here's a great one. The Office of Mass Engagement. Do you have a clue what that is? Here's some more money wasted with smiley face. $5.2 million to pay for swollen salaries. These are information ministers for Mamdani's new DSA, and he's putting this money in there. It's just like China's CPC, communists. These are all DSA, Democratic Social Media. He's spending $5.2 million of shitty money on these scumbags. What are we doing here? And then he goes on a bicycle. Hey, dickhead, you're riding around. Why didn't you ride on a city bike? A bike. You're riding on a real custom bike with your suit. You look like the jerk-off that you are.
And by the way, yeah, he rode that bicycle. That was the same exact time that I was at the Israel Day Parade. So if he doesn't show up for the parade because he hates everybody, that's one thing. So you would think, Bo, that he'd be very low-key that day, very low-profile, very quiet, just not to really stick it up the Jews' ass. Instead, showing how much he really hates us, he goes out for a bike ride and makes sure that people are taking pictures. What is the matter with people?
The best part about that, he wasn't wearing a helmet. Oh, please, God. Oh, please, God. All I can say is one more thing. Not one more. I got plenty more. Last week, I talked about these 3 DSA socialists running for Congress. Guess what? The poly market prediction, Brad Landers wins. Teresa Chevalier wins. And Claire Valdez, they all win. All 3. They're going to have 3 more congressional seats out of New York. We're going into the toilet bowl. Here we go. Hold on. More important is, Mamdani has not put in an economic development chief. Remember, all of a sudden, that's the person who brings development to the city. He's not even hired anybody because he doesn't care. All he wants to do is take our money and spend it on his bull crap. That's all he's doing. And you know what? Blakeman must explain to the voters what's going on. Between Snaggletooth and Mayor Mamdani, what's going to happen? The economic decline is going to be a Ponzi collapse. And we went through it in 1975. Right now, you can't just keep taking. Who's going to pay for it? And then I've been in touch with my guys from Homeland Security, and I called one of the chiefs of the New Jersey State Police over there. Do people realize, thank God, for my friends with the New Jersey State Police, they don't mess around. And these people that are demonstrating, come to me, information. These are the same scumbags that were in Minnesota. These are paid people. And you know what it's all about, Sid? It's against Donald Trump. They don't care. They want an incident. They'd love for one of these douchebags to get killed. And that would be their call against Trump. That's what it's all about. There was no food strike. Hey, listen to me. You come from these places where you're drinking friggin' toilet water. Now you're worried about what you eat? This is so ridiculous. They're worried about their diet. If you rape a little girl, you punks, put them on a banana boat and get them the hell out of there and leave my federal offices alone. And you know what? I love the Jersey State Troopers, man. They are did you see how they handle these scumbags? They put the shields there, then they had an arrest team in back of them. This is what we got to do. Wipe them out. New York State Troopers, learn from them. Because I tell you right now, Jersey State Troopers, I take my hat off to you. I love New Jersey. And you know what we should do in New Jersey? Unelect that douchebag. What's his name? Senator, what's his name, that senator?
Booker. Cory Booker.
Yeah, Cory douchebag Booker. Do nothing. All he is a race-baiting scumbag. And you know what? All I know is one more thing here. In this detention center that we have there,
Delaney Hall.
What we got to do at the Delaney Detention Center, get the buses, get them the hell out of them. You know where we send them? Send them somewhere on the plateau. Let's send them somewhere upstate New York or upstate somewhere where there's a federal facility. Throw them in there so all these scumbag demonstrators can go upstate New York in their jalopy cars. And do you see the professional stuff they got? They got gas masks. They got all kinds of professional equipment. All they are is agitators. My country, my country, America. I'm 75 years old. I see what's going on. Why isn't the news media showing what's going on in Europe? My own son was robbed in London. Other people's kids are robbed. Women are being raped in Sweden. It's so bad over there in Europe. And you know what? It's coming to America. And we start with the smiley scumbag and the snaggletooth governor when you say if you have a guy who raped a little 5-year-old girl and he's illegal in this country, he puts a law. You can't turn him over the eyes. Where are we supposed to put him, Snaggletooth? How about take him into your house in Albany?
Bo Dietl, an amazing appearance. All right. You got to make it through here.
One more.
Okay.
New York City school chancellor, Kamar Sanders, this scumbag. All of a sudden, he did a no bid contract. What they do is they keep it under $25,000 procurement. All of a sudden, they stole this money. The contract's totaled $365,000. He signed off on. This loser, Kamal Sanders, he's making a salary of $363K. This guy is so corrupt, and he's the school chancellor. You think he cares about kids? He cares about, show me the money. Just like Eric Adams, remember when he was state senator? He yelled out in the state senate, show me the money. Yeah, you robbed all that money from New York City, Eric. Right. Sorry.
Bo, no. Sorry. What are you, nuts? That is that's an A+. And in baseball terms, Bo Dietl, as you do every Tuesday, it's a grand slam home run. That's a great segment. Informative, entertaining, your passion. No one matches your passion. Bo Dietl, you are a great cop, and you're great at this, too. God, we love you. Bo Dietl, you get that every Tuesday morning right here on Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Sid and Friends in the Morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My advice is to be strong. I don't like it when I see Jewish people, moms and dads, they tell their kids, you can take your yarmulke off. Take it off. If you're nervous to walk in the streets, take your yarmulke off. I can't stand that. Or hide your Mogen David. You do that, they win. They'd almost rather see that than a dead body in the street of Tel Aviv. Trust me, okay? Don't do that. Don't tell your kids, I know you're a parent, you're nervous, I'm nervous too, okay? I've got a son who goes to school in Chelsea. It's not easy. And my daughter just came back from London. You want to talk about a rough place for 3 years. But when you do that, you're really doing a disservice to the Jewish people fighting for us in Israel, and all of you fine people in the audience here today. Do not do that. Wear your yarmulke proudly. Wear your chai proudly. And show everybody that you're Jewish. That little part of my appearance yesterday with Liz Pipko. You ready for this? It's up to 18 million views. Listen again, folks. Listen carefully, okay? All you people that are impressed with your social media numbers. 18 million views. What I just said on Twitter this morning. Alex Traiman happens to be the CEO of JNS.org. I am really excited going back to Israel and just a couple of weeks, June 18th. And for the second straight year, I will speak at the second annual JNS International Policy Summit. Great list of speakers. I was told by Huckabee, he texted me this morning, he's not going to be there. But we'll have Bibi Netanyahu, Mark Levin, Ron Dermer, Alex, myself, Morton Klein, Victoria Coates, whole bunch of great people. So, Alex, I can't wait to see you, my friend. How are you?
Can't wait to see you as well.
No, it's going to be a great couple of days, 3 days at the beautiful Waldorf Astoria in Jerusalem. I arrive on June 18th, and again, I'm very excited about it. I know when you hear what I had to say there, Alex, you're in New York a lot. You're a New Yorker, and big Knick fan, I know that. And you wear your yarmulke in the streets here in New York. You don't take it off. You're not going to allow those people to intimidate you when you're getting rockets fired at you every night at your house in Jerusalem. So I think you probably like my advice. Yes.
Absolutely, and I was very pleased when I was there just a couple of weeks ago and I came into your studios, but I saw lots of Jews on the street wearing their yarmulkes, very clearly Jewish and just going about their lives, and it felt like, okay, just do what you need to do. And in terms of, getting your ass kicked once in a while, that's what happened over here on October 7th. We got it really good, but we could see that it's actually made us a lot stronger when you determined that you need to fight for your existence and you're willing to do that.
3 years coming up in October. Hard to believe. So the big story today is that as Trump continues to try to get this peace deal done with Iran, which they want no part of. It's funny. Our guy is doing his best and want no part of it. But I guess at one point yesterday, Trump and Bibi, well, not really Trump and Bibi, Trump ripped into Bibi Netanyahu. Somebody heard Trump say, "What the F are you doing?" And when I say F, Trump actually uses the curse word. "You're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." This is supposedly what Trump screamed at Bibi yesterday, with a bunch of people in D.C. saying Trump was legitimately pissed. So I sent that to you this morning. I said, "Are these two fighting again?" Here's what you said to me. "Don't believe everything you read. This plays well into both Trump's and Bibi's favor." So are you saying that this conversation didn't happen, or it did, but it's not nearly as harmful as the press wants you to believe?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, first of all, this is another report from Barak Ravid. He's a reporter that I think has gotten the story wrong more often than any other journalist. I tell people all the time, I said, if somebody would get your taxes wrong as your tax accountant time after time after time, you probably wouldn't go back to them to do your taxes again. But people keep going back to Barak Ravid like he's a reputable source on this. And he does have sources. I know Barak Ravid, and I'm sure that somebody came to him and told him that that's what happened in that conversation. Does that mean that is what happened in the conversation? Doesn't mean that it was a tense conversation. I'm sure that there's a lot of tension here. It's clear that Trump wants there to be a ceasefire between the United States and Iran. Iran is trying to link up the Israeli Hezbollah conflict into that ceasefire. So certainly there's tension. But for Netanyahu, we're getting attacked, nonstop, and drones in the north. Things are blowing up in the north of the country, and Israel's military doctrine has changed. A ceasefire for Israel means that if we see Hezbollah moving or firing, we're going to fire back, and we're going to fire back much harder. In terms of how does it play into everybody's hands? Well, it's clear that Trump is not putting the military pressure on Iran right now, but Israel's able to do it by putting the military pressure on Hezbollah, and then Trump can say, "Look, I'm holding Bibi back." So that works in Trump's favor as well.
Yeah, it is a much different dynamic because, Iran is not going to be attacking Cincinnati today. They're not going to be dropping bombs in Brooklyn today. So, while we're taking care of business because eventually one day, and maybe one day soon, they'll have the nuclear capacity to do that. The truth is, it's not right now. And you guys, on the other hand, every time somebody makes a move, you get bombed. Whether it's Hezbollah in the northern part of the country, and obviously you had to deal with all these terror proxies over the last 3 years and that brutal day on October the 7th. So it's kind of easier for Trump, and I love the president, as you know, to call out Bibi when the truth is, you sitting right now on the phone with me in Jerusalem, you guys are the ones taking rocket fire.
Yeah, that's right. And even the situation with Iran directly, it's clear that Israel would prefer and was ready to go fly side by side again with the United States to try to finish this job, because we know that if there's going to be any deal now, that Iran is going to continue to try to consolidate, is going to use whatever dollars get released through sanctions relief and whatever rebuilding money goes back into Iran. And there were talks, we saw reports of as much as maybe $300 billion. If that will be released into Iran, we know that some portion of that money is going to be going to funding terror proxies. Some portion is going to go towards trying to extract that enriched uranium or to rebuild the nuclear program. And some is going to be poured back into developing ballistic missiles, which are going to be used against us. We know that they'll be used against us because they have been used against us. So we also understand that if you don't finish your job now, you're just kicking the can down the road yet again. There will be future rounds of this conflict. And so what we're seeing now is that Iran is actually turning into just another theater in this war, the same way that we had intensive conflict in Gaza, then there was a ceasefire, then we go back, then there's a ceasefire, the same thing in Lebanon, there was a ceasefire, now we're fighting again. There'll be a ceasefire with Iran, but we We had 12 days of war a year and a half ago in June, and now we had 6 weeks of war, in February and March, and we know that if there'll be a ceasefire, that there's just going to be another round of this later.
Yeah, well, hopefully much later, because my daughter Ava arrived in Tel Aviv this morning. Well, somebody, Alex, she's actually staying at Johnny Daniel's house this week because he's in New York, and I'll be there now in less than 3 weeks. I want to shift the conversation quickly to New York. I know you guys wrote a whole bunch of stories about me all over Israel, 3 different papers the last couple of days about how I called out Mayor Mamdani. I said Mamdani wants Jewish people dead. I'm doubling down on that. Until he comes out and demonizes the Intifada, I'm going to say if you want to globalize the Intifada, you want Jewish people dead. So I'm not apologizing. I'm doubling down. That's the way the mayor feels. That's how I feel about it. So you guys wrote a whole bunch of stories. But why I'm getting to this is that he didn't go to the parade, but Smotrich did. Bezalel Smotrich, who happens to be the Minister of Finance in Israel. And Mamdani was pissed about it. He made comments on television. He considers Smotrich to be a right-wing Israeli crazy. He's the guy responsible for genocide and all these ridiculous allegations. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, even put out a tweet about Smotrich. Letitia James, the attorney general in New York. It reminded me, Alex, of the night they all came after me after I called Mamdani a couple of names a couple of months ago. One by one, they line up for this creep, this mayor, and they come at people. In the past, it was me. Now it's Smotrich. What are your thoughts on New Yorkers trying to take out the Minister of Finance?
Well, but Sal Smotrich has been a very competent Minister of Finance here. He's appreciated by many of the ministers and the members of his coalition. Responsible for a genocide that didn't happen, right? It's like you haven't had a genocide in Israel, but the man that's responsible for the genocide is him. Even though he doesn't control the military, he doesn't control the military policy, and you just have somebody that represents the views of a large portion of the population here in Israel, to the political right for certain. Does he believe very staunchly in Jewish life and in Judea and Samaria? Absolutely, he does.
So do I. By the way, so do I. I'm sick of. I'm waiting for the day that.
Live?
Yeah.
Where should Jews live if they don't live in Judea?
Right. And that's why we're called Jews. I mean, one of these days, and President Trump has been the most courageous and greatest president by a mile. Truman is 1,000 miles behind him in terms of how good he's been to Israel. But one of these days, somebody has to be courageous enough for sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. That's the bottom line. It's got to happen.
Yeah, and I think when Smotrich comes to the Israel Day Parade, instead of beating down on him, I mean, this is a man who, number one, loves Israel, number two, loves Judea and Samaria, but number three, loves the U.S.-Israel relationship and believes very strongly in that. That's why he came to New York to participate in the Israel Day Parade. So he should be welcomed with open arms. Somebody that wants to actually strengthen the relationship, not harm it, which is what Mamdani and Hochul and others want to do. And unfortunately, I would even say that there are members of the Jewish community, Jewish leaders, that say, "Oh, we can't stand Smotrich, we can't stand Ben-Gvir." They're actually delegitimizing Israel and its government by saying that all the time. We don't walk around saying left and right. We can't stand Marjorie Taylor Greene and we can't stand Thomas Massey. Like we don't just do that every minute. It's not always great for the relationship between the countries to do that.
So on the way out, I know the elections are coming up this fall. But if the election was today, does Bibi Netanyahu win for the 5th time in 6 tries?
Well, he's certainly in pole position. What we've seen over here in Israel is that you can actually win an election and not form a government. That's how Naftali Bennett became the prime minister when 95% of the country voted for somebody else. Because ultimately, you vote for a party in Israel, and it's a parliamentary system with 9 different parties that got into the Knesset in the last election. And then among the Knesset members, they determine who's going to run the government. So you got a lot of parliamentarians here that don't want to see Netanyahu form the next government, and they could collude against him. But he still remains, by a very, very solid margin, both the most popular politician in Israel and simultaneously the most unpopular.
Yeah.
But I think that as long as this war is going on, and you need to work very closely with President Trump in order to continue to deal with all the diplomatic and military aspects of this war. Netanyahu is going to make the case that he's the most indispensable man and the one that you need to see this war through to its conclusion.
I actually think that's true, too. I agree with that. Alex Traiman, you're beautiful. I'm going to see you in your homeland in 16 days. I can't wait. 16 days.
I'm looking forward to that. Are you going to be using the studio for your broadcast?
I don't think so. I think I'm just actually going to take time off. How about that? I'm just going to go to Israel and speak at your policy summit and tour around a little bit and spend some time on the beach, maybe go back to the Dead Sea and actually take a week off. Every time I've gone to Israel, I've done the show. I've had to schlep back and forth sometimes between, even Gaza one morning to get back to do the show on time. So I think this time, Alex, I'm all yours.
That sounds great.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Week for you.
It's going to be great, and we look forward to having a Shabbat dinner with you and Zippy at your house. How about that?
Amazing.
All right.
I'm going to tell Zippy to start cooking now.
Start cooking now. She's a great cook. She's tremendous, and your family's beautiful. We'll see you in 16 days. We'll talk before that, Alex Traiman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sid. Love you.
I love you, too. God bless you. There he is, the CEO of JNS.org, the only place to get your information on Israel, the war, what's going on, elections, JNS.org. And I'll be there, like I just said, in 16 days.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I speak to a lot of people, including the president, but a lot of people on this show about a lot of different policies, and we just had Alex Traiman on from Israel, for example. We cover everything from the Knicks to Israel. You get it all right here on Sid and Friends in the morning. But when it comes to the economy and what it really looks like, I go to Kudlow. That's it. I don't listen to Jamie Dimon, or Bill Ackman, any one of these guys. I go to Larry Kudlow. So here he is, my dear friend, the brilliant Larry Kudlow. Larry, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good, Sid. Thank you. I'll never live up to it, but you're very kind.
You certainly do live up to it when the president employs you because he's so impressed and you get the ratings you get on radio and TV. You certainly live up to it. And I got to tell you, I love the fact, listen, it's difficult enough to be the Treasury Secretary, but when you're trying to do it during wartime and President Trump, because he's doing the right thing in Iran, has to face the economic issues that he is, you really come to find, and you say this all the time, Larry, what a great Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is, right?
Scott was my pick from day one, right after the election in November 24, and I think he's done a terrific job. And, it's important because nobody can predict the future, and nobody could have predicted the war, and he has stepped up and stepped in and done things to bankrupt and economically and financially choke off Iran that's never been done before. He's using tools that the Treasury Department has that had never been used or had never been used as aggressively as he is using them. I mean, once President Trump gave him the direction, basically, it was Scott who engineered the blockade. It was Scott who engineered the embargo. And using, again, Treasury tools. It's Scott, by the way, who just took away almost $1 billion in cryptocurrency from the Iranian IRGC mullahs, the crazy radical Islamists who were running that place into the ground. That's a huge chunk. They want offshore. They're stealing and looting money from Iranian businesses and Iranian citizens and depositing it, in various banks in the Gulf and elsewhere. And that includes this haul of nearly $1 billion of cryptocurrency, which ironically, if you go back, Sid, a lot of people argued a few years ago, and I was in the White House, people were worried that, cryptocurrency could avoid jurisdiction, could use it for drug money and other nefarious purposes.
Yeah, like ransom money, because we kept hearing during the whole Nancy Guthrie saga that that's what the bad guys wanted to do. Yeah.
But, it turns out that the, improving technologies for blockchain actually make it easier to follow crypto finance. And so what Scott Besson and his team at Treasury, some of whom are my old deputies at the National Economic Council, what they've done is kept a careful watch, and now they've frozen it. They've seized it. And they've seized all these bank accounts, in countries that, play both sides, such as Qatar or Oman or others. And this has taken the financial guts out of the IRGC, which is just what we need. It's terribly important that we deny Iran money.
Yep.
And now what you see is, because they can't sell any oil, which the Treasury Department engineered, they can't sell any oil, so nobody's showing up. The cops aren't being paid. The troops aren't being paid. The police aren't showing up. It's fascinating, and it's starting to catch up. And I think whatever President Trump decides to do in terms of negotiating his red lines, which he seems to be holding fast on, this is economic and financial starvation. And the guy behind this economic fury is my pal Scott Besson.
Yeah,
he's a phenomenal story.
He's been great. He has.
Phenomenal story.
Yeah, and Trump says that he may have a deal done as early as next week. But there is some fear, especially from Israelis. And you can appreciate this because Iran has been the country that has funded all those terror proxies, Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas, that in this potential deal, the United States will loosen some of the restrictions and sanctions, Larry Kudlow, and Iran will get money. And when they get money, they have proven time and time again, it's not to feed the starving people on the streets. It's not to build schools or hospitals. They'll go right back to doing what they did before, which is fund groups to kill Jews and Americans. That's a fear out there.
Well, I think it is a fear, and I think that would be a big mistake. We were just out at the Reagan Library for this economic conference where I interviewed Scott Besson. But one of the key themes that Reagan launched many, many years ago, 45 years ago, when he was bringing down Soviet communism, was trust but verify. And the verification procedures here are going to be very, very important. I don't know what they are. I am concerned about them. I agree with you. You do not want to loosen any of these financial sanctions. And there are rumors that part of a deal might be $12 billion in cash.
Ouch.
How that money is arrived at, I don't know. But I don't want them to have a nickel.
No.
Sid. Not a nickel.
I agree.
And then, of course, the Iranians somehow believe that they have $120 billion in frozen assets. Well, that's good. Those frozen assets, that's Scott Besson freezing offshore bank accounts, okay? Keep the money. They must not get the money. This should amount to unconditional surrender. The red lines have to be in place. No nuclearization. The enriched fuel has to leave Iran and go to the United States. The Hormuz Strait has to be reopened with no conditions, no control by Iran. And their missile program, which they have already started to rebuild
correct
during this ceasefire, that has to be curbed also. And all of it, talking to Jack Keane about it last night on the TV show, all of this must have strict paragraph by paragraph verification. And you cannot let just a bunch of UN inspectors come in. This has to be done by Americans, presumably American troops.
100% agreed, because we tried this before. We know how that went. I do want to ask you, though, about the economy here. This is the great Larry Kudlow on ABC every weekend, and does a great job on Fox News every day. I go back to this movie I really enjoyed, Philadelphia, when no one knew about AIDS. Tom Hanks was brilliant in that movie. And Denzel Washington was the attorney in the movie. And he would say to the people that were trying to destroy Tom Hanks, he would say, speak to me like I'm a first grader. And I got to tell you, Larry, with most of my listeners who used to listen to Boomer Esiason talk about the Giants, but now I got them to come here, they're not all that savvy when it comes to the economy. So they hear from one side that the economy is bad, that interest rates are still too high, that inflation is still too high, that, that we're in trouble. And then even Jamie Dimon has said that, your friend Jamie. But then they hear from Larry Kudlow, no. Actually, the indicators show the economy is pretty good. So speak to me like I'm a first grader, Larry Kudlow. Is the economy good or bad? Bottom line, with midterms now, just a couple of months away.
The one that hurt there was Boomer on the Giants. Holy cow. That was killer.
I know.
Speaking as a diehard Giant fan. But anyway, the economy is business is booming. I just want to say that because you won't read about it, but business is booming. Business earnings, profits are booming. That's why the stock market is booming. Actually, the GDP, I know you can't eat GDP, but it's a measure of the economy. The GDP is growing at about 3%, despite the bump up in oil prices, which I might add, incidentally, oil prices are slowly coming down as ships are passing through now, the Strait of Hormuz. But the key point, even with gasoline at the pump, and I get it, and it hurts some people, and I do feel their pain on that, but it's a very big economy, and I've never seen such investment going on, which is a tremendous thing for the future of the country and the economy. Look, just to start with the stock market. I'm astonished at how media types do not want to look at the stock market, but that tells you whether there's confidence or not. And it also tells you about the future. The stock market is telling you that the economy is going to be good in the future. That's why it's breaking records. I mean, you're looking at unheralded numbers for the Dow 50,000 and the S&P 7,500. I mean, people with their 401ks and IRAs are doing very, very well right now. You've got the AI revolution. You've got all kinds of investments across the board. Even manufacturing, the last 3 or 4 months, has started to snap back. Just yesterday, we had the ISM's supply managers showing 54%, which was much higher than anybody thought. I think it's the third or fourth straight month. And I want to make a point here. Profits, which the left hates because it does show the health of business. The left hates business. Mamdani hates business. But the fact of the matter is profits are the mother's milk of stocks and the lifeblood of the economy. So when you combine all these profits plus tremendous increases in productivity for a variety of reasons, AI, but not only AI, you've got yourself a very spiffy economy that's probably growing around 3% despite the oil shock, the temporary oil shock, and these prices will come down. I mean, you can look at one thing after another. I mean, business, capital goods, machinery, equipment, factories. Last 3 months, orders are up 19% at an annual rate. Shipments are up 12.5% at an annual rate. You don't see those kind of numbers in a slump. I'm sorry. No. And here's the thing. When business is healthy, that means companies can hire workers and they can pay them increased wages. This is so important. And the cost of those wages are not inflationary. Unit labor costs are only 1.2%. The labor costs are rock bottom. Now, we have some inflation because of the oil shock, okay? But if you chop off the inflation, you're really looking at, I don't know, maybe 2.5% inflation. So is that a little tiny bit too high? Yes. But it's not cracking up the economy.
No, not much. No, not much. We were at 9, 12. Yeah.
Right. The Fed's target is 2.
Right.
You look at some of these measures from the Dallas Fed or the Cleveland Fed that chop off the highs and the lows. You're around 2.5%. So my point is, this is an economy driven by low taxes. It's an economy driven by a very light federal regulatory touch. It's being driven by drill, baby, drill. You got your oil people are pouring it on for oil and gas exploration and fracking and so forth, except in some of these stupid blue states like ours in New York. But the fact is, this stuff is running the economy hot. it's running the economy
Love
hot
this. Yeah.
right now.
That's great. Love to hear it. So I got about 3 minutes to go. You mentioned Mamdani. So I was on Brian Kilmeade's television show on Fox News Sunday night. And he said, Sid, you were on with me before. You knew Mamdani was going to be bad for the Jewish people. This was parade day. He said, is it even worse? I said, yeah. I can't imagine I'm saying this, but it's even worse. So I want to send it to you from the economy standpoint. We knew this guy's a communist, a socialist. Forget about the Jews for a second. From the economy standpoint, since he's become mayor, Larry Kudlow, is it even worse?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he hates business. He is a socialist. It's kind of interesting to me, this latest flap over housing. So he wants to actually take over the housing. He wants more public housing. It's old-time socialism. It's like Joe Stalin or something.
Yeah.
Because the modern-day socialists in the Democratic Party have run businesses into the ground through exorbitant regulations. This guy wants to actually take over the means of production. I mean, I haven't seen this since the 1930s and 1940s. Yeah. And it's really quite – now, is he going to get away with it? Well, he might. I don't know. Business leaders, most of these guys are very tepid. They're kind of afraid to criticize him, and meanwhile, they're slowly just moving out of here altogether. So I'd say his economic threat and his anti-business predilections are probably worse. But then again, he said all this stuff when he ran. It's just that we didn't believe it.
We didn't believe it, right, because he sounded so crazy. So would you recommend to your friend Ken Griffin, I know you've answered this before, but not on my show, would you recommend to your friend Ken Griffin, what are you, nuts? Because I know John Catsimatidis on this show yesterday said it publicly. Listen, I am limiting especially my real estate business, especially real estate. I am limiting it in New York right now because of Mamdani. Would you recommend to Ken Griffin, take it to Miami?
Well, he's going to have to do what he's going to have to do. I mean, John Catsimatidis is a fabulous businessman, wonderful human being. The fact is, they're going to have to make decisions, and they have to act in the interest of their shareholders. They have to act in the interest of their own business. Look, again, I come back to this point. The economy is made up of businesses. If businesses are unhealthy because the government is pressuring them or taking their profits away or over-regulating them and increasing costs, you have to protect yourself. You've got shareholders, you've got family members, you've got proprietors. They have to do what's in the best interest of their business. If that means moving out, then so be it. I mean, I thought the best rap against Mamdani's whole socialist approach was Jeff Bezos. He spared no language.
He was great.
He just ripped him to pieces.
Agreed. He was great.
And of course, Bezos had to go through this whole Amazon. Remember, it was AOL and her pals that stopped
AOC,
Amazon.
right? AOC and that moron von Bramer, those two idiots in
Right.
Queens that cost us jobs and money and who knows what. Yeah.
So look, the hottest places for business are in the South and the Sun Belt. All right, and actually, the single biggest, hottest place is probably the state of Texas. But you've got Florida, you've got the Carolinas, you got over in the Sun Belt, Arizona. I mean, those are the places that are attracting capital, they're attracting people, and they're attracting money. So you just got to do what you got to do. If Mamdani wants to hang New York, look, he's not getting – Hochul's just as bad. She's just a little Mamdani light.
Right.
They're going to bankrupt the city, and at some point you probably have to have some kind of fiscal emergency review board to come in. But we'll see how this plays out. If he makes good and the city council follows through and the state legislature follows through, then we're in a heap of trouble here in New York. I hate to say it because I've lived in New York on and off for about 50 years, frankly, a few trips to Washington, D.C. in between. But the fact is, there's no Hugh Carey to rescue us right now, okay?
No.
There's no George Pataki to rescue us right now. Those are the big problems as I see it. Even in Ed Koch, I see they're trying to take away his bridge name.
They are.
It's so stupid. Who's going to rescue us? every place you look, you see socialism this and socialism that.
Yeah.
And then he won't go on the Israeli parade and he rides a stupid bicycle around. It's such an anti-Semitic,
Right,
an
anti-Semitic
thing.
jerk. Well, the guy
He's
the guy that can save us, Larry, is Bruce Blakeman. He's the guy that can save us.
Yes. No, I like Blakeman a lot. I like Bruce Blakeman a lot. I mean, my first choice was always John Katz. I mean, I wanted him to be mayor or governor or something like that.
Yeah,
but he's got other fish to fry.
Yeah.
But yes, Blakeman is very good. Did a good job in Nassau. And look, we'll see. I mean, at some point, people get fed up. If you're taking your livelihood away, people start to rebel. And I'm not talking about the richest people. I'm not just talking about the Ken Griffiths. The people who can least afford the attack on business are the middle class, working folks, Hispanics, blacks, blue collars. They're the ones that don't have enough money to pick up and leave their business here and start over again in, let's say, in Dallas, Texas.
That's
or
true.
some such
That's
place.
right. That's
They're
right.
the ones. It's very important to understand. It's the blue collar, working folks, middle class of all colors who are hurt the most by this crazy socialism and smothering of the economy. They're the ones who are hurt the most.
No, I had this conversation on this show just yesterday with our friend who's doing a great job running small businesses, Kelly Loeffler. And she knows it. She knows it. Kelly said, listen, I know we want to try to help the guy who owns a hardware store in Brooklyn who can't just move to Dallas, the guy you're talking about. So they're aware of it, the federal government, and you are and I am, but we'll see how it plays out.
We're losing our losing our advantages on the stock exchanges, on the currency, on the futures market. The heart of the financial district is being ripped away because, I mean, Jamie Dimon builds this multi-billion-dollar office building on Park Avenue, but meanwhile, the majority of his staff now is in Texas, not New York.
He can't make it up. It's true. I know. Larry, I think you're a beautiful man. You know that. You're awesome. I love you. I really do. Thank you for coming on. It's an honor, and you're great every time. Thank you so much.
All right, Sid. Take care. Appreciate it very much.
Keep up the great work. Larry Kudlow right there on WABC every weekend. Fox Business every day on Fox News.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rick Caruso seems like a Republican, but ran as a Democrat. How are you running?
Yeah, thankfully it's a nonpartisan race, so I don't have to be either. I have probably.
What are you?
I'm a registered Republican, but my supporters are all Democrats because Los Angeles is all Democrats. All the people financing me are Democrats. All the meetings I take every day are Democrats. Democrats are very angry with what happened to Los Angeles. They were fed a bunch of lies by Mayor Bass, who said she was going to literally solve homelessness. She was going to do all these things she didn't do. So all of the people that put her actually in office are now behind me. So it's a nonpartisan race. There's no letter next to either of our names because the mayor is not supposed to represent a party. They're supposed to make sure your moms are safe, your houses don't burn down, and your tax money is going to your infrastructure, not to fund drug addicts. So thankfully, I have Republicans that love me. I have Democrats that love me. I have independents that love me. Even some socialists message me and they're like, hey, don't be so mean to us.
Our eyes on two in particular. California, where again we want Spencer Pratt to make the final two. Not going to be that easy. Everybody keeps saying it's going to be Bass, the incumbent, and Pratt. I don't know. This DSA candidate, this psycho, Mamdani with a vagina out there in Los Angeles, Rahman. She seems like a very, very formidable competitor, so I don't know if it's going to be that easy for Spencer. And then Steve Hilton running for governor. Both of those jungle primaries taking place in California today. Pratt mayor, Hilton governor. We're going to find out. Then you've got New Jersey. And I've been pumping up Alex Zdan for months. Hopefully he wins this four-person primary today and takes on Cory Booker come November. This other race in New Jersey's got this, I guess, alleged anti-Semite. Allegedly, this guy sided with the blind sheik or worked with him. I don't know the story. What's his name? Hamway or something?
Hamway. Dr. Hamway. He's a plastic surgeon.
Sounds like a dick.
He might be. I don't know. I've never met him.
Yeah. But am I supposed to not believe everything I'm hearing about this guy?
Well, we know the stuff we know about him is that he definitely has an anti-Israel campaign.
Okay, then we hate him. That's it. That's all. We don't. Nothing else. That's it. You know? I'm done with people in my life who are anti-Israel and try to tell me, well, no. I'm anti-Zionist, not anti-Israel, not anti-Semite. Shut up.
He's
If you talk to that person long enough, the one who tells you I'm anti-Zionist, but I'm not anti-Semite, I'm not anti-Israel, talk to them long enough, they're all exposed. They're all anti-Semites, every one of them. Except for my daughter. She's not, but your daughter is.
Yeah, well, it's funny. He's trying to weave the same thing that Mamdani's doing, where I don't believe in Zionism, but I love the Jews.
Right, he loves us, right? So much he's riding his bike. So let's take a break and come back and talk to the aforementioned Alex Zdan, my choice. Great guy, guys. He's all about freedom, whether it's religious freedom, whether it's medical freedom. The Moms for Liberties, they love this guy. He's a big Trump supporter. He is pro-Israel. He loves Bibi. I mean, everything about this guy makes sense. And he's good looking like me, and he's a TV guy. Alex Zdan, back on Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alex Zdan is my guy. He's been on the show a bunch of times. I did a fundraiser for him out in Colts Neck at Trump International. I love the guy. And Alex, my first question is the obvious one. Have you voted for yourself already today?
I will be on my way, Sid, to vote in about 10 minutes for myself. Absolutely will be voting. I hope everyone else votes. And I want to thank you for all the support you've given this campaign. I want to thank all of the people who we brought on board to this movement. Our job is close to the finish line, but it's not over yet. New Jersey, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote for Alex Zdan for U.S. Senate to revive and restore our great Republican Party in our great state.
And you are voting your hometown, so people in that whole neighboring area, right there. I mean, I'd imagine the polls will be pretty packed today. What do you think?
We'll see. I mean, we've heard turnout solid in certain parts of the state. I really hope that more people come out and vote, because sometimes primaries can be like a little bit low turnout. We don't need that. We need every Republican to come out and send a statement that our campaign is the best position to beat Cory Booker, and our campaign is the strongest, the one to unite the Republican Party.
I agree it is. And again, spending so much time with you, you represent everything that we want as a Republican. A MAGA guy, really. I mean, you're a Trump supporter. You're pro-Israel without any apologies. I love that about you. The freedoms, religious freedoms, and all the health freedoms. I mean, all the stuff that we've done together on this show, and all of your friends and mine that have helped out. Everything that you stand for is exactly what any good Republican wants. So you got to explain to some of the listeners who may still be in their car right now, Alex, trying to figure out why, above and beyond the fact that Sid likes him. That's big. Don't get me wrong. Why Sid likes him. Why is Alex Zdan the better choice of the four running in that primary today?
We are going to unite the Republican Party up and down the ballot to bring it back from the devastation that we saw in 2025. I'm an investigative reporter who has fought corruption before, and we know how corrupt the Democratic Party is in the swamp of Washington, in the deep state bureaucracy. You need to send me to Washington to fight against that corruption. Cory Booker is the tip of the corruption iceberg. I am the one who can make the case that he has been a bad senator for New Jersey. His time is up. It is time to have him back to wherever he comes from, where he belongs, not in the United States Senate. Cory Booker's been getting a government paycheck since I was in middle school, and those paychecks should end this year.
No, listen, I can't stand the guy. I remember that one time he stood up there. I still have no idea why. I forgot. I don't care. But he spoke for 26 straight hours, and he said nothing. He's a friend of Wall Street's. He hangs out with movie stars and actresses and couldn't care less about the everyday Jersey. And I don't know what he's done in Newark. I just don't know what the guy's done. But the truth is, Alex, we got to win today. Before we beat Cory Booker in November. There's not going to be Zdan Booker in November if we don't win today. So what is your message to folks today? We got to win this primary first.
Yeah, my message is very simple. I'm a regular guy. I'm someone who wants to serve. I'm not running for a title. I'm not running for a position. I'm not running for anything other than to represent you in the United States Senate. People have talked about the idea of this race being unwinnable. I don't think that it is. I don't believe that it is. I have things that I want to do if and when I get to Washington. Pass the SAVE Act, fight corruption, revamp health care, and make things more affordable for people, and protect those freedoms you were talking about, Sid, because I am your freedom guy.
Love that.
I am a guy who wants to get the government out of your business to allow you to express yourself and live the way you want to live, as long as you don't hurt anybody. That's our American way. That's our American creed. The most destructive thing that Democrats and liberals have done, there's a lot of them. One of the most destructive things is this idea they have that government gives you your rights. No, your rights come from Almighty God, and it's the government's job to stay out of the way as much as it can while still assuring your safety.
I mean, so many of the people in your campaign, around your campaign, I should say, have been on this show from Victoria and others that, really taught me a lot about a lot of the freedoms, religious freedoms, the vaccine issues, the medical freedoms. These are all really, really important items. I mean, I at this point, I talked to Dr. Oz, and Bobby Kennedy and I have a good relationship, and that has become very, very important to me. I don't think enough candidates out there spend enough time on it. And to be honest, Alex, you're the real deal. Like I heard a couple of weeks ago that Cory Booker all of a sudden is all about freedom. And give me a break. When did that start? You're authentic. You're an OG when it comes to this stuff, Alex Zdan, right?
Well, Cory Booker should get the Oscar for performative pandering in the United States Congress. And there's actually a lot of competition in that category this year, including Governor Mikey Sherrill at Delaney Hall. Yes, I am authentic. I do believe that you, your individual self, have the best position to decide what is right for yourself and your family. That's the way America's supposed to work. Government should work for the people, not impose their will on the people. And that's what I'm running to do.
And I did notice when I was there for that fundraiser at Trump's place. Listen again, folks, in New Jersey, all right, Republicans, Trump's place in Colts Neck, and you had Testa there. He's terrific. And, you had that young kid there. He's 17 years old. I forgot his name. What's his name?
Colby Mannion. He's been great for us.
I love that kid, too. Reminds me of like a Brylan Hollyhead. And, your crew, Jockey Tobacco, the whole crew. But I noticed there were some people there, too, that were not necessarily MAGA Republicans like Sid Rosenberg. I noticed that. So it actually gave me some hope that some of these moderates who do lean right at the very least in New Jersey would look to a guy like you.
Yeah. I mean, I've already begun reaching out to all different wings of this party because if I'm fortunate enough to prevail tonight, I want to unite our party. Our party has been riven by infighting for far too long. We need to bring our party together because, look, we're outnumbered in New Jersey as Republicans. It's a simple math equation. We need everybody on board to move forward and beat the Democrats, and then we got to take a whack at the independents, too, and bring them on board.
So, you said if we win tonight, and obviously that's what I want, and I've certainly, been there for you. As you've been here for me. You've been great. Let me give you a worst-case scenario, okay, because it's out there. You're running against 4 people today. Worst-case scenario, you don't win tonight. You're a young guy. You got plenty of strength. You got plenty of vim and vigor. You're a good-looking guy. You stand up for all the right things. Is it fair to say that if, God forbid, you do lose tonight, that we have not seen the last of Alex Zdan? Because some people do it once and they go, okay, no thank you. I had friends like Bo Dietl. He ran for mayor once. He said never again. If, God forbid, you lose tonight, will we see you again?
Yeah, you can't get rid of me that easily. I'll be out there making the case against Cory Booker and the woke socialist mob that Democrats have become.
And the governor, Mikey, I call her Mikey Muhammad Sherrill. It's almost like she wants to be a radical Islam so badly. I don't know. She has done your state no favors either, has she?
No, I mean, you talk about Governor Sherrill and her beliefs. My experience, both reading what she said and personally interviewing her when I was on News 12, is that she believes in nothing. And that her advisors are telling her what to say to best position herself to be a leader of the Democratic Party and, God forbid, a nominee for president of the United States. They think God, that she's got the resume for that. And I wrote an op-ed in the Washington Examiner this morning about how her performative theatrics at Delaney Hall, where she showed up there on Memorial Day, instead of honoring our war dead, honoring illegal migrants, instead putting them first, how that stunt kicked off this powder keg situation, this horrible situation around Delaney Hall where people have gotten hurt. And finally, our state police, our great New Jersey state troopers, the elite, had to be called in for the governor, by the governor, to basically rescue her political image. It's sad. It's very sad that it went that way.
Oh, my God. Yeah, she was there for Memorial Day. There were others that were at a George Floyd monument on Memorial Day instead of honoring our brave men and women. Our country is going sideways. That's why we need you to win tonight. Again, final 30 seconds. Alex Zdan out there in New Jersey. Your message to potential voters on their way to vote this morning.
We need to get our Republican Party into a position of strength. I am the strongest candidate and the best candidate to make the case. I have gone toe-to-toe with Cory Booker before in interviews. I have fought corruption. I have had results electing candidates, helping to elect candidates to the school board and assembly. Let's power forward. Let's win tonight, and let's move on and take on Cory Booker and shock the nation by turning New Jersey red for a U.S. Senate seat.
Good luck tonight, handsome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed.
See you, buddy. Alex Zdan right there out in New Jersey. Go vote for him today. Do yourself a favor. Do the country a favor, okay? Do New Jersey and the country a favor and vote for that guy. I think we're done for today.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?